Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello, Dave Scott here. Spaced Out Radio is the show, and we are here for you tonight on this Friday night with R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection coming up right around the corner. Yes, the conductor of the Woo Train has his pork chops on fire tonight. I'm telling you, the pork chops are looking magnificent. You will see them momentarily, but first, let us say hello to each and every one of you. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Alien Universe taking home a nice silver tonight. Robert Lamoth with the bronze medal. Hello, Attorney at Large, Michael Morris. Good to see you, my man. Roy Boy, Lisa C, Kevin. How you all doing? Magnus Vermagnuson, Luscious Jules. Nice to have you here as we continue on with roll call tonight. Lasso, how are you? Welcome to SOR Chat. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, nice to see you. Brown Dwarf and Les Paul Holland rocking out tonight. Good to see you both. Hi, Mama Susan and Kathleen Hughes. Good to see you. Rugged Source is here. Rugged Source will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. And who else do we have here? We got T-Bone. We have Human Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service there, Human Carl. We love what you do for everybody, and especially us in the audience. Jimmy Gonzalez, how are you? And moving on, we have, let's scroll on down. Hold on. Got to play catch up. 405er, SG Nav Spotter 310. Welcome to SOR Chat. And who else is joining us tonight? Jenny White Bear's here. So is Derek Galloway. And who else is joining us? Raymond L. Good to see you, my man. And W. David Page, nice to have you back. Peter Thorgerson, what's happening? And let's see who else. Justin Hemmingson, what is going on, man? And Jessica Paramarv, nice to see you. Noble Patrick is back, and he will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, Willard Wright, good to see you. And Laura Lobbs. And let's see here. No, I'm not looking like a pumpkin or a blueberry tonight. I'm not doing that. Looking like a raspberry, especially with the red shirt on. Linda B, well, how you doing? Dark Protocol, nice to see you. Millennium, my man, good to have you back. Richard Elmore, Marty Burbank, Nikki in Seattle, Phil Minervino, Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Richard Elmore, how are you? And Vidman, what's happening? And good to see you, my man. Luke Bailey, welcome to SOR Chat. Could you please give my mom a shout out? Lorraine, she listens every night in the UK. Good morning to you, Lorraine. Good morning to you. Big hugs from the Commonwealth here in Western Canada. I hope you have a wonderful night and a wonderful show. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Lorraine, for tuning in, and thank you, Luke, for pointing that out. Let's see. The Unknown, how you doing? And Margaret Oliver, thank you for coming on in. Dirt Road, how you doing? And let's see here. Aaron Baca, what's happening? Hi, Carla. Good to see you. Sweet Tony D, good morning to you. Emmy Tong, Lee the Bee, and Black Dragon, our great Marine. How you doing? Boss Monster, and the Debster. The Debster kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you, Deb, for your continued love and support. Let's see here. Who else do we got? We have Mike Arrington. Good to have you here. Nancy Thames. Hold on. Where's my hat? Where's my hat? At this time, it's early. It's early, but we're saying hello. How are you to Ross Dogs, Broken Spirit, and any other agents and agencies that are kicking in tonight, listening on in. And remember, you got our phone number already. We don't need to give it to you. Just give us a call sometime. Say hello. Remember, some of us can be bought. 20 seconds. Let's see what we can do here. Love V Love. Good to see you. And let's see here. I think we're kind of Pen Man. How are you? Nina Williams. Good to see you. SOS QHT. Nice to have you back. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KTNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of Woo tonight. Yes, the conductor of the Woo train, R Keith Andrews, is back for the ET Connection as Keith comes in each and every month to talk about some serious woo. He doesn't play with that weak-ass woo that, is at the bottom of your swimming pool or the bottom of your tub if you haven't washed it in a while. No, we're talking high-quality woo here. The kind of stuff that's going to just make you go, woo, woo. That's R. Keith Andrews right there. All right, then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing is going to bring us a great story, followed up by little Timmy Senor and our resident Timbit giving us the UFO reports. R. Keith Andrews is a lifelong experiencer and an ET contactee. It's been going on since literally as long as he can remember. And it comes in here each and every month to discuss the purpose of aliens coming to Earth and having contact with us. And once again, Keith uses his contactee experiences and his high intuitiveness to help others for more than the last 30 years get in touch with what is going on with them. He helps counsel those to learn that their experiences are as real as their living breath. R. Keith Andrews, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, my man. How you doing?
Dave, and how's everybody out there listening in?
I think they're good. We got a packed house already for you in our chat room, and I know our radio audience is all excited for you tonight. Keith, it's been, I don't know if you caught any of the latest UFO hearings, but I could tell you, man, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty still pumped up to the fact that they are still talking very adamantly that the United States government has control of UFO craft as well as the pilots who are piloting those craft. Pretty cool, eh?
Well, it's an intriguing thought to find out that they've actually got control of them. That they've got them in their possession, I won't argue the point. That they may have some of them piloting, I won't doubt at all. Will I debate whether or not they control them? Certainly.
I don't mean control as in that we got control of the situation. I'm saying they've got control of these dead bodies and these craft.
Oh, they've certainly got some in their possession. There's no doubt there. And they're definitely trying to reverse engineer them. But they've run into a couple of major hiccups.
And what are those hiccups, my man?
Number one, they're looking at gravity in reverse, which is complicating their understanding of the OTE drive.
Okay.
The OTE drive, the oxidation of the tritransfer equipolarity. And until they get gravity sorted out, understanding that one's going to be a bit of a problem.
Well, you got to accomplish one before you the other, right?
Well, it might be an idea. It's kind of like trying to learn how to read if you don't know what the alphabet is.
Good point. Very, very good point. Keith, you know, we have so many new listeners each and every time you come on here, and even looking in our chat room tonight, I'm seeing a bunch of new faces, and that always makes me happy when we can talk about this to new people. I mean, you are a lifelong ET contactee. It's happened literally since birth, and you know what? You have had the ultimate experiences of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and yet here you are, still living and breathing, and you are pushing your way to help people learn about their own experiences, letting them know that this wasn't a dream. These experiences do happen. What is the best way for you that you approach someone when they come to you and say, Keith, I think I've been taken. I think I got some aliens. How do you approach that?
Well, it really varies by the person, but the first thing I get them to do is lay out what they remember. And right off the bat, I tell them, look, I'm not going to tell you whether it's real or not yet. I will tell you that there's no doubt you're going through something. Right? And then after they explain what they remember, then we start piecing two and two together. Sometimes I can give them a pretty quick answer and go, this is what you're likely dealing with. Sometimes it does turn out to be, no, you can explain it very comfortably with these events. And if they go, yeah, that makes sense, then we're done. If they go, no, it still feels off. So, okay, then we look further than that and see what we come up with. It's not just the cut and dried, yes, you were taken, no, you weren't taken. There's way more to it than that. But the first rule of thumb is you never tell somebody they're wrong. Because you don't know until, and you know this from your own investigative processes, that you don't know until you've done a little bit of work.
Okay, so how does one know if they are an ET experiencer, not just experiencing dreams?
The best way I can put it is there will be, if it's just a dream, the uneasy feeling will fade pretty quick once you wake up and get oriented to the waking world. If it's been something more, that feeling is likely to haunt you for the better portion of the day, or maybe longer. Is the easiest way to differentiate. And again, unfortunately, it is not a black and white, this is the way it is for everybody. That's just an overall, a generality, if you will. But if you wake up, one of the obvious issues, and I've dealt with people that have woken up with their clothes on backwards, or clothes that weren't theirs at all. I remember one guy that I was talking to personally, he had a wallet in his possession that he had no way of understanding how he got it. Because he was Canadian, and the wallet belonged to some guy in Eastern Germany.
Well, that's never any good. That's never any good when you try and, go pay for groceries at the store.
Guy in Germany was completely lost with it. It's like, what the heck? From the last I heard, they got it all sorted out. But I'll tell you, you want proof that something happened, that'll do it.
So when people get taken, is it usually the grays that come
The
and I
massive.
see this. Keith, I've never seen a mantid. I've never seen a reptilian. I've never seen a humanoid. I've never seen uh, an Arcturian. I've never seen a Pleiadian human, or a blue skinned human, or whatever. And everything that surrounds me seems to be around grays, and it seems that most people as well.
That is very correct, because the grays, the Zeta Reticulans, are the ones that develop the hybridization program. So yes, they are on the whole the ones that do most of the abductions. I mean, some of the other races, like for instance, the Kleeklok, or who as the Mantis, certainly do their abductions and do their studies, but they're not trying to hybridize anybody. If the Tekla take you, you're not coming home. It's pretty much that cut and dried. You're going for dinner on the wrong end of the barbecue stick.
I'm going to ask you something. We were doing some filming up here a couple weeks ago, and we were doing this experiment called the Estes method, where you use noise canceling headphones to listen into a radio signal, and you wear a very dark black blindfold, a thick one, so you can't see any light protruding in. I never heard any voices, but what I did see for the first time was I saw a big white orb to the right side of my head. Okay, it was so bright, I was squinting inside this blindfold. Number two, I started seeing alien gray heads all over the place. But what scared me the most and confused me the most about that, Keith, was the fact that I also, for the first time, saw reptilian eyes. The very bright the bright green. I could see the scales. It's just the eyes.
Yeah.
And the bright orange alligator-like eyes. And I've never, ever seen that before. And I'm going to be honest with you, it tripped me out a little bit, Keith.
I can understand that. This is why I tell people when they go, "Oh, I just want to have an experience," or "Why don't these guys show themselves?" Well, I'm telling you, there's a reason they don't show themselves. Just with the eyes, how trippy you got, how tripped out you got. Well, take a look at what happens when you put those eyes in the face of a 13 to 14 foot reptile. All of a sudden, that little bit of uneasiness is going to get a whole lot more complicated. But this is going to sound like an odd question, but the eyes you were looking at, were they definitively binocular eyes, as in set in the front of the head?
No, I didn't see any other part of the head. I got the left eye first, then I got the left eye second, and then later on I got the right eye third. That was it. It came to me like 3-4 times.
Okay. So that sounds like with that in mind, that's kind of comical in my eyes, but I'm twisted.
Well, fill me in on that, because I am curious.
Well, if you're getting a left eye, like if you're getting a definitive one eye, and then a second view of an eye that is the same eye, and then the third picture is the other eye, you're looking at a reptile that has to turn their head from there to, like, from left and spin around to the right to get a look at you with the other eye. Which means you're dealing with something that is much more of a field hunter, aka a Teklak. Teklak is your most likely. And of course, with the grays floating around, the Teklak wouldn't touch you. That orb, on the other hand, that, likelihood, now correct me if I'm wrong, but you said the orb was only about 4 or 5 inches in diameter-ish?
No, it was maybe about half the size of a golf ball.
Okay, then you're as close to definite as I'm getting. You're dealing with a Vorosic. They are a strictly light-based individual. It's technically possible you could have been dealing with a Yumion, but But the reptilian, there aren't many reptilians built with that extended of a jawline that they would have to physically turn their head to look at you.
Okay, so the fact that I had this experience out in the middle of a forest, did that mean that they were actually physically around? Or were these just projections that they were putting into me?
I would be inclined to say that the reptilian was there. And there's no doubt that Vrozik would have been. As for the Greys, that was simply, I would lay odds, that was simply your old friend going, hey, we're back in the neighborhood. Do you mind if I drop by?
It wasn't him. I know that.
Oh, I know it wasn't him. That's why I said projection. He right now is out in Titan.
He's getting closer. I can feel him.
Yeah.
He being alien Carl, not human Carl in our chat room.
No, not human. I don't know. Human Carl in the chat room may well be getting closer to you. I don't know. Maybe he's coming up to visit you.
No, it ain't human Carl. No, but you know what? It was weird because, we talk a lot about aliens, and a lot of people around here, if you're a veteran listener to this show, you know the story of Carl the alien who showed up at my window while I was broadcasting this show back in 2015.
Was it really that long ago?
Yeah, and then he came back in 2018. He hasn't been back in 5 years. But all of a sudden the other night, and I've got the text message here. I do. I think I sent it to you on Facebook. Was it Facebook?
Yeah, you sent me word that you were trying to figure out what the heck it was all about and why all of a sudden he was showing up again.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden I started picking up his energy, and I said, Keith, I think Carl is on his way or something like that. And I said to you, this was Tuesday night. I said, where is Carl? I could feel him. Not strong, not here, but close. And you said he is just doing a tedious system check on Titan. Then we'll be attending a speaking engagement at least one university on Mars. Then he returns here. I don't know where you got the Mars thing, man, but that made me laugh.
Well, in all fairness, it's en route. In an odd sort of twisted way. It's a convoluted path, but you got to remember the Martokians are a young race where the consortium is concerned.
Well, you know what? It was a real wicked experience because I wasn't scared of the eyes. I wasn't scared of the Greys. In fact, when I was picturing them in my head, when I was doing the Estes method, I knew the Greys were going to be there. I just knew it. Okay. And,
well, you do know the Greys have been watching you for, quite frankly, dang near a decade now.
I know. That's what's eerie about it.
I'll never forget the first time I told you were being watched. I think you just about fell off your chair.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm still a creeped out experiencer. I lose my marbles every now and again when it happens, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. Why can't I be?
Well, it really is wise to be okay with it. In my case, I just don't know what it's like not to be that way. But for most people, that kind of an interruption in life can throw things for a loop.
Very true. Very true. We got a bunch of audience questions here. Why don't we get started on that? As we got about 5 minutes to go before we have to go to break.
Absolutely.
R Keith Andrews is our guest. Keith Voices is kicking things off tonight by asking, what do the aliens think of David Grush? Now, I know you don't watch the news and you don't really follow the UFO field. David Grush is a whistleblower who spent 4 years as part of the UAP task force at the Pentagon. He is the man who is breaking open a lot of news that we always thought was true, but apparently could be true, as he's sworn under oath, saying that people have been killed by their own government regarding this subject. People, including him and his wife, have been threatened or hurt, that the United States is in possession of UFO aircraft, as well as the pilots. He never called them aliens, okay, as well as the pilots. He believes that these craft are being held by private companies, so that way they are void of non-disclosure agreements or FOIA requests. Okay, there's a lot going on with this guy. Now, he has never seen anything. Most of his information came from other people, but still, he's a whistleblower on what the government knows with this subject. What do you think of whistleblowers like that?
Well, I'm always cautious about whistleblowers, but by everything that you've just laid out, I will, and of course, I don't have anything to corroborate it, but I will absolutely tell you what you just relayed. David is absolutely on the money. And the government, the funny part about it is the government, though they don't always have total ownership or possession of the stuff, they know where 90% of it is. Because let's not forget, even with the private companies, if they put something in cold storage, and they log it in, they're doing the research, you can bet your bottom dollar that their servers have been compromised, and the government absolutely knows what they've got in the bin. But you are right, leaving it with the private corporations takes it out of the culpability of the government's handles.
I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, because if you need information, you can't get information, and the private companies don't have to share that information.
Well, it's okay. The government doesn't share the information anyway, so which one matters? If the private company won't share it and the government, when they've got it, won't share it, what's the difference other than who's not sharing?
I don't know. Let's get to another question. Let's go to Justin here. Hey, Keith, what's your favorite race of ETs? Mine are the tall whites. What's your opinion of them?
Well, I certainly don't have a problem with them. You're talking about the Aldebarans, the tall whites, that is. Nice people. I don't know if I've got a favorite race, but I do have some really good friends in the Strazazian community and the vegan community. And that's vegan, not vegan. If I go to the ancient races, then I get along really well with the dwarfid race and the elfid race. But, for me, I've got friends in many different communities, really different when you think of it in Terran terms. But I really don't have one race that is, above everybody else. Some of them I do find are kind of intriguing. But you got to be, with some of them, their habits are, shall we say, from a human standpoint, a little offsetting. Fortunately, I get along, and fortunately, they know well enough that when I'm going for dinner, they cook things that they normally may not.
Oh, I hear you. Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here in about 20 seconds on Spaced Out Radio. And you know what, my man? It's already off to a great start on this show. And, man, I don't know where it's going tonight, but looking at the questions, we got some great questions from our audience in our chat room on YouTube on a nightly basis here. And we love it when we get the audience participation as they ride along the Woo train with R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Keith's sideburns are on sale for $149.99 plus tax. That's Canadian tax. Spaced Out Radio will return right after this with the ET Connection. Stay tuned. Normally I am done saying hi to people in the chat room about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
My fingers are killing me right now. Killing me.
Look, that's what you get for being polite and saying hi to people.
David Stein, thank you for tuning in, my man, from the Toronto area. Wondering what's going on with Saga 960. What we do, my man, is I send our show is delayed by 1 day. So the show you hear tonight will actually play on our radio stations on Monday night, which is why we don't date a lot of things or try not to. We do it that way, and then I edit all the segments out, so that way we get a clear radio cast for them. And yeah, that would be an accidental edit on their part. I know they work hard. They love the show. I know, Mississauga at Saga 960, believe it or not, our show, and I've seen the numbers, our show has increased their listenership by over 1,500% since before we were on there. 1,500%. Amazing. If you have any issue, what you can do, Dave, if you want to stay up to date with the show, you can join us here. We're here, and I know I know the show is comes on earlier in Mississauga. I believe it runs 10 Eastern to 1 a.m. Eastern there. But if you want to stay up a little bit later, you can watch the next show live that same night. So if that works for you, we'd love to have you here, man. And I hope that answer works for you. Hi, Penny Van. Why would a person purchase a lamb chop sideburn? Would it be kept as a pet like a tribble? Possibly. And Boeen, how are you? Good to see you. Number 76 in your program, starting at right defense from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Good to see you. Hi, Nina Williams. Debbie Nickerson, how are you? Word first-ist? Word one-ist? I don't get your name. Wolverine, good to see you. The lovely and talented Kira has returned. There aren't many people who have hair nicer than mine. Kira is one of them. JSCO, honestly, man, I am not getting your question. I am not seeing it pop up. I've been looking for it. I am not seeing it. I'm not sure if you're using a word that's maybe banned by YouTube. I don't know. Hi, Grantavius. By the way, I'm mad at you. I looked at your work video today, and you were clean shaven. That doesn't fly with me. Nope, not at all. Gray's put me on a table like rock. I know what that feeling's like.
Yeah, I like the energy bath better.
Yeah. By the way, Kira, you will be happy to know that I've cut off all liquids except water now. I'm back to water. Soul, if you want a question answered, put your question in capital letters. And Mennonite Abe, which another thing that's weird, I see your super chat. It never popped up for me on this side. But thank you for that, my man. Always appreciate you, Mennonite Abe. You're one of the good dudes out there. I'll ask your question to Keith in the next half hour when we get to it. I got them all in line here. Did I get JSCO? Yeah.
I've been watching for it myself.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't seen it come up at all yet. I figure I'd catch it just in case.
Yeah. Vanessa, I'm just wanting them to quench my thirst. I love veggies. Oh, I love veggies. Thank you to Mennonite Abe, Human Carl, Mark, and Deb for the great super chats. Little Timmy Senor's in the chat room now. Remember, you can support this show through the super chat. You can also support us with giving us a thumbs up, thumbs down. And if you're new here, hit subscribe, ring the bell. Here we go.
Yeah, I haven't found JSCL come through at all.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate burning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues here on the big show as we are getting into everything extraterrestrial tonight. And I know that we got a ton of questions coming for you. Keith, you ready?
We are ready to go.
All right, let's do this. Let's go to Pixie Lara. What is your first memory of ET Contact, and what can you tell us about it?
First memory of ET Contact was actually right out of the incubator when I was born. I decided I didn't like the idea. I didn't like this world at all, even at that point, and left I had no interest in coming back to my body. So when I astral traveled, I didn't even build the umbilical cord to find my body. That morning, I ran into I don't know if it was morning or night, but I ran into the Council of 12. And they cut me off, and it's like, where are you going? I said, I'm done here. I'm going home. They went, no. You signed the contract. You've got work to do. I said, I didn't sign up for that abuse. Well, I lost the argument and ended up back in the incubator. And I will tell you, astral traveling, if you're ever in ICU, do not astral travel while you're in ICU. They get really panicky when you leave your body, and they electrocute you to bring you back. They also call that defib. But that was, I got told flat out by the Council of 12 at the time that I was not done on Earth, that I had a lot more I still had to do. So net result, here I am. Am I upset with them? No. Am disappointed that I've made 4 runs I've actually made 10 runs of getting off this planet. They keep shipping me back. I think I might just well do something else for a hobby.
I can see why. I can totally see why. All right, let us continue on with our questions for you here, Keith.
Sure.
Justin, following up, is asking, why were you in an incubator? Tell us more.
Because I was born mottled green and black. And they were worried my heart was going to up and quit. Well, they were right. It did, just for a different reason. But when I was born, I know that I was born via my mom. I remember coming down the tube. I remember coming into the bright light. And I'll tell you, people that tell you that birth is a wonderful experience do not remember their experience. So I come out of a very tight, very warm little place, squeezed through an absolute tiny knothole, burst into brilliant, blinding white light. Some giant spun me upside down and beat the living stuffing out of me until I screamed, and then poked and prodded me before they put me under an even brighter light on a really hard surface and stabbed me a few more times. Needless to say, I was not happy about this whole event. Long and the short of it, I ended up surviving, in a manner of speaking. And here I am. Yes, and that's what's called the Reader's Digest version.
Let's go to Pixie Lara. Oh, we already asked that one. I apologize. Let's go to Mark Sanchez, who always wears a nice Hawaiian shirt wherever he goes. R. Keith, do you think non-human intelligences are ashamed of their beards? Oh, my.
No, we can safely say that if you take a look at the dwarfid race, being ashamed of their beards would not be high on the list of a good conclusion. But no, most of the non-humans are, if they happen to have beards, they're quite content with them themselves. They don't look down on it by any functional stretch.
Okay. Let's continue on. Let's go to Millennium. Keith, give us some survival tips for encountering one of those not so nice reptilians. Is there any way to talk yourself out of that situation?
Number one, showing fear is a bad idea. Okay, but much as showing fear is a bad idea, do not challenge them. As in, oh, you can't do that to me. And I mean, it's comical to watch somebody go, oh, I'm so-and-so and I own such and such. You can't do this, as humans do to humans. A reptilian will look at him and go, yeah, well, that's a great suit, but we're removing it anyway because we need to do what we're doing. But the biggest thing is, do not ever assume that they're dumb animals. Because more often than not, they are far more intelligent than the human race. They just have a few limitations that you guys can work with. Not the least of which is doing the unexpected will absolutely temper things. Not the least of it. One obvious example is when the Greys go to take a sample and they pull out that funny thing called a dextrospanalizer. Ask them to let you see it. Show genuine curiosity, and you'll derail their whole overbearing assessment. They don't know how to handle people that don't follow the normal roads. Without aggression, that is. By the way, for those of you that think making a joke is going to work, you got to remember they don't have the same sense of humor you do, so they'll probably miss it.
All right, let's continue on here. Let us go over to Paramarv. R. Keith, to the best of my knowledge, I've never had a visit from an alien. Do you know the reasons why they don't interact with some of us? Am I not worthy?
It's got nothing to do with worthiness. It has to do with two major factors. First, whatever it is they're looking into. Okay. And bearing in mind that there are over 8 billion people on the planet, they've got a wide array of people to select from. That'd be the first issue. The second one is, if your bloodline has been relatively untouched, then they're not likely to do much with it. In other words, if none of your ancestors or relatives have been picked up before, then there's not many of them that will touch you because it destroys that entire direct array. They'll still take readings and biological readings and what have you, but non-invasive.
What do they do with all of the biology and sampling they collect?
That's used for most of it is used for the hybridization program. As in trying to figure out, you got to remember, humans are one race that is, if you will, a universal donor, even amongst the aliens. So what they end up doing is you're looking at multiple races, at least 2,500 that I'm aware of. Okay. And you got to remember, people think humans have a lot of humans on the planet. We got over 8 billion on Earth. When you go to these other guys' planets, they had too many, so they went to new planets.
All right, let's move on. Let's go over to JSCO, who is asking, I'm seeing that parts of our community that to fit in, you must hate God and the Bible. I do not believe that. How do our guests feel about that? How do you feel about that, Keith?
From my standpoint, I'm a firm believer in God. I'm a firm believer in God and in Yeshua, who you know is Christ. Probably more so than many. But, and I could get in trouble for this, so I'm going to bite my tongue on part of that. I will tell you I have major complications with many of the mainstream religions because they've completely chewed up the whole concept. And yeah, I could go into further detail, but I know how that can backfire on a channel, and I'm not going to do that to you, Dave. But I will tell you this: he wants, I forget who the gentleman was or the lady. If they want a more complete answer, absolutely, tell them to drop me a line.
Yeah, I'm a God guy too. I have no problem admitting that. I'm a God guy too. So I don't think, a lot of people, in my opinion, and I'll say it, Keith, they confuse their spirituality with a man-made religion. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes in. So that's where we'll leave it. How about that?
Well, yeah, that's why I leave you for the diplomacy. My diplomatic approach is limited.
I know, my man. Let's continue on here. Let's go to the Spreaker chat room. And Cat the Kit is asking, long time, Keith. You're looking good. Here's my question. If there was to be a captured alien, would they be the equivalent of a U.S. drone losing one?
If it were an actual captured alien, and depending on how they went about capturing, because there are some in lockup right now, that the different governments around the world do have. But it depends on what they're doing with the alien. If word got out that they were torturing, for instance, it'd be a whole lot of a problem, and you wouldn't be wondering whether or not we had visitors. Although you might be wondering what happened to that underground military base that now looks similar to a crater.
I get that. I do get that, Keith. All right, let's move on. As our next question comes from Joe in California, oob to Joe's Maine. If we haven't seen an alien since we were 5 or 6 years old, are we still considered abductees? I think I damaged a few of them. I would like to start with that answer, if you don't mind. Joe, you've got aliens. You've got aliens. You're still being abducted. The quarters have proven that. The scratches on your legs have proven that. Your beautiful hair is the reason why they keep coming back. Okay, Keith, now it's your turn.
First of all, if you've been abducted once, you're an abductee. Doesn't matter how many times after that. Okay, that's to start with. As far as damaging them, wouldn't be a shock, especially if it were the Zeta Reticulans that picked you up to start with. Because they're not exactly the most formidable physical form, which is why they travel with the Nords. But no, that way you're still absolutely, if you've been taken even once, you're an abductee. That'd pretty much be the best way to put it.
Let's go to Matt. What is the true nature of dreams?
In a nutshell, actual dreams are your subconscious's ability to warn you or help you understand what's going on in your actual life. And this is why I am so against lucid dreaming, which controls what the dreams tell you. But the dreams are your higher senses sorting things out to give you a little bit of a handle on things that don't necessarily make quantifiable sense.
How do we tell the difference between a lucid dream and real encounters with aliens?
A lucid dream, you're going through the dream, and the people that do this know they're doing it. You're going through a dream and you go, I don't like what's going on, so I want it to change in this fashion. and it changes in the fashion they're planning it out. Okay, a real-time event, you cannot want it to happen at all, and it's still going to happen. But the difference between a dream and a real event is a dream, when you come out of it, even if it's a nightmare, within the first hour and a half, 2 hours, your nerves will settle back down and you'll be going, no, that was a dream and it was terrible. It was a nightmare, but I'm able to function. If it's an actual physical encounter, then that feeling of disconcertedness is likely to haunt you for a few days, minimum. And may frankly last years.
Mennonite Abe would like to know, how many dimensional beings are there? 5th, 6th, 10th? Do they interact with in our dimension?
Okay, I'm glad he put it that way, because that's not beings, that's levels. That I'm aware of, 12. And no, they do not interact with each other. That's why we're not getting an evolution of Earth moving to the 5th dimension, or people being raised to the 5th dimension or the 7th dimension. You have to, in order for you to go from the 3rd to the 4th, there is a specific pattern, and it applies to everybody. You have to go out, find all of your soul component parts, which are literally thousands of them. Once you're all together and have evolved to a high enough level, you go back to the central hub, and then, and only then, do you have the option of going into a new dimension. But when you step into the 4th, 5th, or whichever one you choose, it doesn't have to be 3rd, then 4th. You get to pick and choose. Because once you choose, you walk into that new dimension, and I'll use the term walk a little loosely, and you get broken up into your component parts. So you're stuck in that dimension until you find all the bits and pieces and all the information that's available in order to get back to the hub and start over. When you've gone through all 12 dimensions, in whatever order, you come back to the hub. Now you can move on to the next stage of your evolution. So yeah, it's a very long, very drawn out, convoluted path.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to voices. Keith, what do the aliens think of Spaced Out Radio's Legendary Music by Ron Bumblefoot Thal?
Some of them like it, some of them don't. You know, it's just that simple. However, most of the ones that are doing any of the research know that music comes on. It's time to tune into SOR and see what's cooking.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Even the aliens are rocking out with their horns up. Oh, that makes me feel good.
Some of them don't have any options.
All right. Well, let's let us move on here and go to Casey. I want to know why I was abducted as a kid and then again in 2017.
Now, honestly, Casey, way too many variables there. First rule of thumb, I understand what your name is, but here's the piece of information I'm missing to give you a definitive why. Don't know your blood type, don't know the race that picked you up, and don't know what you were up to at the time. Therefore, the why, I don't know, but I will tell you, when you were picked up as a child, they took samples and recordings and what have you, and then many years later they pick you up again to see how you have evolved mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and socially speaking. You know, it's just part of an ongoing I'll call it tracking for lack of a better word. Humans do the same thing with other lower life forms. Don't take that as an insult. It's just a statement of reality.
All right, let's continue on here, Keith. We've got just under 4.5 minutes. Let's go to Joe. Do aliens like watching our movies that are broadcast? If so, what did they think of our depiction of aliens in movies?
Well, they understand that movies are just that. And from their standpoint, when humans show a movie, and I'm talking in general, when humans show a movie of humans chasing the aliens off and winning there and protecting their home planet, they go, well, on the whole, they're looking at it going, well, if that's what makes you feel a little better about yourself, have a happy. Because from their standpoint, the depictions of humans fighting off aliens are completely out in left field. I mean, yes, humans can be surprising, but to them, it's very much like when we talk about D-Day and the war movies show people running back to collect up their wounded friends in the movies, right? When you talk to somebody that actually was on the beach of Normandy, the reality of it is way more brutal and way worse of an outcome. So the off-world is when they're watching the movies that humans watch, they're going, well, it is meant for entertainment. And because of humans' fragile intellect, if they require that to feel a little better and a little more secure, enjoy. When you look at the negative ones, they're going, let their ego lead them, because if their ego leading them will be so much sweeter when we actually pull it off. And totally decimate them without anybody's knowledge of it even starting, the victory will be that much sweeter. So, I mean, you've got a mixed bag of emotions that run depending on the races.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Jeff Steve Garvey. R Keith, what will happen to those people that poo-poo or laugh at aliens when disclosure occurs?
Well, aside from their having to deal with it, like the individual that was going, no, aliens aren't real. Aside from their having to deal with the fact that, oh my gosh, my whole reality went out the window, nothing untoward is actually slated to deal with them at all. Because as the saying goes, you don't have to believe in aliens for aliens to believe in you.
Do they believe in us?
Oh, yeah. Although when you go to the fringes, a race that is that fragile cannot be that creative. There is no way that there could be a race as fragile and as internally conflicted as humans are. There's no way they could get off the planet, even on the local level. So there are those that consider humans a myth.
Let's sneak in one more. We got 90 seconds. Neil is wondering, is Venus really a tropical planet full of total babes?
Tropical, no. But the Venusian women, and men for that matter, are extremely, from an artistic standpoint, are extremely pleasing in appearance. They are one of the two best, if you're looking at Terran consideration of beauty, the Venusians and the Orions are the best looking women. Okay. Although there is a debate as far as what I'm going to temporarily refer to as the Amazonian women. And I am talking about from a human perspective, not necessarily from them, but from theirs.
All right, Keith, I appreciate that. Can we get one more in here? Super Crazy's asking, after death, will we be reunited with our loved ones? 20 seconds, Keith.
Many of them, yes. Friends, family, pets, plants, all of them go to the same place, even the elementals. All of them go to the same place. So, yeah, many of your loved ones will be there if they're not already in transition.
It's a beautiful thing, my man.
It absolutely is.
Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Hard to believe we're already through 1 hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, your host behind the microphone, wrapped up in tinfoil. Spaced Out Radio continues with R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, taking audience questions all night long, at least for the next hour, on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. The fun continues right after this. Keith, I'm going to step aside for a minute here. Do you want to just chat with the audience, or do you want to go in the green room?
Oh no, I can chat with them. I got no problem. Do you mind if I answer one question?
All right. Any questions for Keith? Keep them in lowercase letters, if you don't mind, because uppercase is for the show.
There was one question that SOL asked. Okay, SOL, you asked, where is the proof? And here's the sad reality of it. From my end, you're not getting it. I live this sort of thing, but here's the other side of that reality. Where, for those of you that believe that off-worlders exist or that ancient races exist, for those of you that believe, there is no proof is necessary. For those of you that don't believe, it is likely that no proof is possible. Okay, that's the easiest way I can put it. Now, do I take offense to that? No. But the sad reality is, no, I don't carry a camera with me to take pictures. I'm not about to turn around and point out where people are, where underground bases are. That could get me in way too much trouble. And besides that, there are certain things, like if I knew where you lived, would you want me telling everybody else where you lived? Now, if it becomes a legal matter, I'll absolutely do what I can. But as far as proof goes, not going to happen. At least not as far as I know. That's the easiest way I can put that. I'm just looking at the chat room here. Just for those of you that are in there, let me find what I'm looking for. Because I've got this other neat little issue. Where are we? That one. If I don't get to your question, okay, if I don't know if this is going to work or not. Let's see if this works. If I don't get to your question, for whatever reason, absolutely drop me a line at that email. Okay, and I will do my best. Okay, that's the email to get a hold of me directly. It's also because I do actually put a free, absolutely 100% free newsletter out. Okay, that is only available by request. The other neat little part about it, what have we got here? Just looking back up. I do appreciate that, the other side. The fact of the matter is, my life is very different from what people would call normal. I'd almost agree with you there, Sweetly Morbid. I really would. The nice little part about it is, I don't hold people's belief against them. Can I prove what I'm going through? No, but if it makes you feel any better, I question a lot of what I've gone through and wait for corroboration from other people to let me know I haven't completely gone offline. But I will tell you, it wasn't me that first of all recalled that I was abducted. It was actually a professional psychiatrist, hypnotherapist that did it. And that always proved to be interesting. But hopefully, SOL, that answers your question to a little bit. Whether it does or not, I don't know. But, I'm only watching the Spaced Out of the YouTube chat. Because unlike Dave, I cannot track the number that he's got, so I don't even bother. How we doing, Dave?
I'm great. How you doing?
Not bad. The only question that I didn't check any of the rest of the ones. There's ones coming up, and I just totally ignored them. But the one was an issue of SOL literally asked, "Where is the proof?"
Absolutely, I love that.
I was a lot more polite than I was last time.
Yeah, that's my favorite question. Where is the proof?
Well,
exactly.
Like I told him, I says, look, for those of you that believe in UFOs or believe in aliens, no proof is necessary. For those of you that don't, no proof is likely possible.
I forgot to send Tim the link for tonight. Give me a minute here, Keith. High Pocket Reality, how you doing? And I see our good friend little Tommy Fessler is here. I'll get to that super chat in here in a minute. Thank you, Darth Maylock, for coming on in. Welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you, Valerie Peters. Welcome to SOR Chat. And how far up is that? There it is. Little Tommy Fessler, the man who is getting ready for fall by wearing plaid as we speak. Love Thomas and his support from Disclosure tonight. And let's see, who else do we have here? Are there any other questions? All right. Thank you to our Aquarius Dreamwalker. Welcome to SOR Chat. And thank you to our super chatters tonight. Deb, Mark, Human Carl, Mennonite Abe, AA Ron, W. Decker, T-Bone, and Thomas. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. And Shell Ashley, welcome to SOR Chat. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live at KPNL. All of our archives are free. Please join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. The Nemophilist is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. So we are talking everything extraterrestrial tonight. Keith, thank you so much for being here. Always appreciate you having fun with us.
Oh, I love it. It's like I've told people, unless you turn around and say, no, I'm not doing it anymore, I'm not planning on going anywhere in spite of everything I've got on the go.
Well, let us run through, and we want to say shout out to Lord William in our chat room. He's new to the show. Loving it so far, so thank you so much for joining us, Lord William. We greatly appreciate it, and all our new listeners who are tuning us in. Let's start off with iVoices. Keith, why do people, skeptics like Mick West, upset you? What do the skeptics do that really grind your gears?
I don't mind skeptics. It's ones that are, let's try English, shall we? It's ones that are evasive and won't give you a straight answer that makes any sense. AKA, believe me, you're wrong, so just believe me. It's what I call a godplex. And I think one of the reasons it ticks me off is because I grew up in a family where I had one of those. And, I don't mind being wrong. I've been wrong many times. Okay. But when somebody says, I know what I'm talking about and you're absolutely wrong and your opinion doesn't matter because I'm God, is the way the man comes across. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that really aggressive skeptics do that I look at them going, do you actually think before you speak, or can you? Because you leave craters in their explanations. But in deference to the other shows, there's a lot of times I won't say anything.
I hear you there. All right, let's move on. We got a ton of questions here. Let's go to Vinman. If mantids are benevolent, how much trouble am I in for biting one of their knuckles and escaping from them, working on my back?
Well, first of all, on the whole, they are, and you're not in any. It's a risk of dealing with lower life forms. You're going to get kicked. You're going to get bitten. Besides that, your teeth aren't strong enough to cause any damage to their carapace.
All right. Super Crazy wants to know which ET races are friendly to humans and which are non-friendly to humans.
The massive majority of them are not benevolent. The massive majority are really ambivalent. Okay, but Strazazians, which are a 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptilian, are actual allies of humans. Pleiadians don't come here as purebreds. Only the hybrids come here, and they're benevolent to everybody. They're just natural healers. Greys, on the whole, are benevolent. Now, if you're looking for malevolent, you definitely don't want to be dealing with the Teklek, which are a 4.5 to 5.5 foot raptor-like reptilian. You certainly don't want to deal with the Muldocs or Tekleks and the Muldocs. Oh, and the Wara, you definitely don't want to play with. The Wara is kind of like a Sasquatch, except it'll rip your arms off and beat you to death with a wet end.
All right, let's continue on. Let us go over to Decipher. Will Bitcoin work when I want an ET hamburger, or is there a currency exchange on other planets?
Number one, I wouldn't trust Bitcoin myself if I were paid to. Well, if I were paid to trust it, I'll take the money. Still won't trust it, and no, they don't actually. They have a work hour. On the whole, they have a man-hour pay scale. You put in X number of hours of work, you get X amount of buying power. And in answer to that other neat little question, well, what if somebody's no longer able to work? In most cultures, you're either a senior advisor or you're lunch. Or you might end up in the fusion reactor as fuel. But if you're an invalid, if there's no use for you, you're disposed of. And yes, I know that sounds callous.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Super Crazy again. Do the known alien races outnumber Earth's human population?
The known alien races? No, not that I'm aware of. I'm only aware of approximately 2,500, and I've only documented in excess of 100. Okay, but there are over 8 billion humans. Now, that said, if you're asking, do the alien races, the populations of the alien races outnumber the humans? Oh, head and shoulders above. One race alone outnumbers Earth. As a matter of fact, I can think of a couple of races where you take all the denizens of Earth, including the ancient races, and you're looking at them having more people than the entire planet of all the species combined have. And this is why mankind has not got a prayer in an off-world war.
Okay, let's continue on with Neil. Do any other alien races worship Alice Cooper as their god?
Not that I'm aware of. Although,
I don't know. Oh, I love the question sometimes. River Dogma, Keith. If a craft has placed you in the big headlight, does this mean you have been taken?
No, but it certainly means you have been that you have been scanned. The taken is a whole different ballgame. It does stack stack the deck in favor of you having been taken, but certainly no proof of it.
Some people just want aliens. Tracy wants to know, R. Keith, what races worked with the Nazis back in World War II, and are they still actively involved with other world affairs?
Okay, well, the first part, I don't know specifically which race was dealing with the Nazis. I do know that they did not turn over combat weaponry and or defensive weaponry. That was all done by mankind. I won't debate that the Nazis had some incredible scientists that reverse engineered or engineered things inspired by off-world races. Now, as for are they still actively involved with world affairs, if we're referring to the races being actively involved, only on a cursory level. None of them are involved in heavy politics or major corporations. It's absolutely been totally forbidden. And it's been forbidden since back at the time of the Norse gods.
Okay. Voices wants to know, is Satan real, and what is his true role?
Well, first of all, Satan is a title. Number two, is she real? The answer is yes. That's the other problem. It's not his role, it's hers. But her role was to come down and teach people the importance of literal contract law. You'll notice that the two consistencies with Satan is they call it Satan. And the other one is she'll get you to sign a contract, and she will absolutely twist it in her favor. And she'll put loopholes in it all over the place. If you don't spot the loophole, she will follow it through and she will do what she can. But if you catch her, if you get one up on her, she'll honor the contract. The idea is if you make a contract, always think outside the box was the first issue. As in, when you take a look at the story of Satan coming down to talk to Eve, it wasn't a question of, first of all, being cast out by any means. It was a question of she was sent down to show Eve, okay, you're a little bit more creative. You're not quite so stuck in your ways. So here's what you've been told, but think of the other options. You were given free will. What you weren't given was total insight, so here's the insight. Here's what you've been told. Here's the question you're not asking, so go out and try it. And she literally said, don't take my word for it. Go and do it. Go and experience it yourself. Yes, I know that goes against everything you were taught.
Okay.
Pretty much, anyway.
Let's go to Super Crazy. Are the Greys fully biological beings or something else?
Well, the massive majority of them are biological. They are not photocopies. They are not clones. They are not a dying race. But they have made some android copies of themselves and some exoskeletons that are larger than them, much like the lifter units that are working on Japan's docks, where humans ride and work inside them.
Okay. Let's get another question from Super Crazy. Are any of the non-human intelligences time travelers or maybe future humans?
Well, point blank, no. Reverse time travel, coming back from the future would scramble the future completely. Okay, now there is one variation of that. Some of them may well have jumped forward from the past. Okay, I'm still tossing around this issue of what the real impact of a walk-in is. Okay, but that being said, are any of them coming back en masse and going, oh, we're a future version of the humans and we're coming back to correct this? You can't do it. Okay, it would unravel reality. And much as I could explain it, I don't think we have 3 hours. On that one question, I mean.
Very true. Yeah, we don't even have another hour with you yet. We are moving very quickly here. Let's go to Debbie. What if you laugh and never remember your dreams, but told, I laugh a lot at night?
You're lucky. Basically, it boils down to this. Whatever's happening, one of the purposes of dreams is stress release. And if you're laughing all night, then even if you don't remember your dreams, clearly you're releasing a lot of stress. And this is a good thing.
Is it a good thing?
In my opinion, if you can bring your stress down in a societally acceptable fashion, it's definitely a good thing. By the way, Dave, I put my email address in there earlier, and they're just somebody had mentioned, I don't know who it was, is looking for it again, primarily because of the fact that, like I said, there are some questions I cannot answer, or more to the point, will not hear.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Low Pro. Do you think aliens live inside the Earth or underground in caverns?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the answer is yes, but primarily the ones living inside the Earth are ancient races, as in they evolved here. Many of what you consider mythological beings, such as the ET, well, you know them as leprechauns, minotaurs, elves, dwarves. Many of these races are very much real, but they're living inside what you call inner Earth.
I totally get it. Totally get it. Let's continue on here. Let us go to Justin. Keith, what do you say when people call you a misinformationist or a quack who is not in the right? A family member once said this to me, and I don't know what to say to them.
Oh, you just look at them, smile, and say thank you. You know, the reality is I question my sanity on occasion because nothing I look at looks the same as what I'm seeing other people responding to. You know, so I've got family members that have told me that all my life. One in particular told me, he said, look, I'm not saying you're crazy, but the way you speak makes it seem like you're crazy. The reality is, if you're seeing something or if you believe something that you feel wholeheartedly and they don't believe it, this doesn't make them a bad person. They're just not seeing the world the same way you are. So do your best. And, you know, just in my personal opinion, they tell you not just smile and say thank you for your input. If you want to get really sarcastic, you just take a look at them and you go, well, it takes one to know one. Now, unfortunately, I've got a mouth on me that can get me in trouble, but sarcasm is a great way to deal with stress on occasion. And it does confuse the heck out of the people that are causing a problem.
Okay, let's continue on. Super Crazy wants to know, what non-human intelligences look exactly like humans, if any?
Mobians. Those are the only ones that are a dead ringer. Mind you, in all fairness, Mobians were human and left Earth 40,000. Well, they actually left Earth 50,000 years ago. But there are a number that look similar, right? Like, for instance, you know, when you take a look at the Nords, aside from their size, Nords and Amazons both look very similar. And no, those are not the actual names. I got to go back and translate those. Okay, you know, the other ones, your Deberons, also look very human.
All right, let's go to Lord William here. What age you saw your first aliens or UFOs? And do you believe the ETs are here to guide us and protect us or not?
Number one, I'm just rough guess, but probably about 2 hours after birth, I ran into my first one. Okay, my first interaction, I was still in the first trimester in utero. I just didn't realize what was going on at that point, but my first cognitive run-in, I was about 2 hours into this world. Okay, that being said, ETs are here to understand us and to protect who you know as Mother Earth, or possibly Gaia, who I personally know as Esau. Okay, but they're here to protect her, not you. And they're certainly not here to take over the government. Mankind is screwing that up quite royally. They don't need help. Well, they do need help, but not in screwing it up.
Very true. We're pretty good at screwing it up on our own here.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue on. Super Crazy wants to know, how do we help our loved ones through the oncological shock after disclosure?
Number one, the easiest way to help them is to be very firm, but very gentle in pointing out if they had wanted to cause a problem, if they'd have wanted to actually hurt us, we'd have been dead way before we knew the war had started. The fact of the matter is, these guys trained to deal with humans, very much like humans are taught how to deal with fragile animals. Yes, I have seen situations, but when you're looking at the shock of disclosure, as people, and this disclosure for some people will happen one at a time. I was talking to somebody the other day after their first, in their eyes, verified abduction. And I'll tell you, they were in absolute shambles. But you just have to focus them back on the reality of their own current life. That's the easiest way. And whatever you do not tell them, and don't even support the idea that they were stupid in not believing in the first place. I mean, we are talking about them, about their whole reality coming apart at the seams.
Okay, let's continue. And let's go to the unknown. Aliens. They have to open up their minds. Do they have to open up their minds like humans?
Ultimately, yes. Now the thing is, the ones that are here have already gone through this process in their own right many times, thousands of years ago. They went through the same mistakes. Corporeal entities across the cosmos go through these same growing pains. And yes, to be frank, I have seen these different races in their infancies. I remember them going through their trying times.
All right, 90 seconds, Keith. Shelly wants to ask, have you heard or seen of an entity that looks like Alf from the TV show? I had one sitting on my couch for 20 minutes at least.
There is, the answer to that is yes. And they are, as shall we say, well, they're not quite as comical as what Elf was. But whoever wrote that sitcom was on the money with what Elf was. Okay. But they are a highly aggressive race. And yes, they are quite happily connoisseurs of the feline race. That side of it, they turned it into a comedy. But you got to look at them very similar to the way you look at Ewoks. They look cute as heck. But if you look at the background of the Ewoks were carnivores.
Very true, they were. Very true. And, I had a friend of mine in my little town here who had one of those Ewok-like creatures in her house. She was trying to do laundry. Next thing she knows, one of these Ewoks comes walking out of her laundry room, sees her, screams, and runs back into the laundry room, disappearing in her closet. Spaced Out Radio with R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection goes for another 30 minutes. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, and Tim Senor has the UFO report. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned.
Now, that one you're going to have to fill me in on at some point.
That's the story right there.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. The Ewok people, that's not what they're called, but they are real. And they are vicious as heck. It's kind of like if you take a look at the Econ and the Ecotl. What Trekkies know as tribbles. Very real little critters. Not quite as passive as what you might think.
Kira wants to know, are the Ewok creatures friendly? I've seen them since childhood.
On the whole, the answer is yes. They really are. Can they be vicious as heck? Absolutely, if you pick a fight with them. But on the whole, they're a very, I'm going to call it a primitive race based on the way that they carry themselves. But on the whole, they're a very friendly, very gregarious race. And yes, most of the time, they spend doing what they call singing. You'll hear it as trilling, very much like some of the birds around the world.
Okay. Let's see how many questions we got. We got a ton of questions to try and get through. Let's go to Doug Shelby here. What is your opinion on the ET's relationship with God?
They all have their own belief structures. Some of them believe in what we consider God. Others believe in it by a different name. But almost every advanced race believes in something they call their God. And they all go the same. They all look at it the same way. He created us in their image. And they've all gone through, virtually all of them have gone through their caste wars and their religious wars and their whole issue of, is God real? And puff, God disappeared in a puff of logic. Okay. They've all gone through the same growing pains that mankind is currently going through. The difference is they did it thousands of years ago. So for them, it's like a 10-year graduate out of university looking at a kindergartner going, you'll figure it out eventually. But pretty much they have the same setup that humans do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's little Timmy Senor. There he is.
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Darth Maylock, thank you for that super chat. He's asking, can the aliens do us all a favor and take every politician off this planet and deposit them on a barren planet?
Well, technically the answer is yes, but that would mean they'd have to wipe and take every human in existence off the planet. I realize what the question is. I'm just taking the way they'd look at it. Every single human in existence right this moment is a politician. And if we take all the humans and put them on a barren planet, could it technically be done? Yes. Problem is that the humans are the caretakers of Earth. And therefore, the consortium won't authorize it, as it were.
Rock and roll, man. That is a funny question, though.
It is. It's kind of like the question, why you call four politicians at the bottom of the ocean? Yeah, I guess you can come on. I mean, you got to remember, I grew up in a time when the jokes were, to say the least, a little off-colored.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this, and I probably am insulting, but the reality is anybody that negotiates anything is a politician. Whether you're negotiating with your other half, your kids, your friends, your coworkers, doesn't matter. The moment you go into negotiating or swinging a deal, you're a politician.
Very true.
The question is whether you're an honest one.
Kat the Kit wants to know if they enjoy our virtual reality.
Some of them do. It's kind of like video games. You know, many of them look at the goings on Earth and the interactions between people very much like a comedy show. Or some parents will tune them in and go, okay, you watch this little cluster of humans. This is what you don't do if you're trying to get something accomplished.
And on that note, Keith, get you to hold on right there. Big thank you tonight to Deb, Mark, Carl, Mennonite Abe, AA Ron, W Decker, T-Bone, Thomas, Lord times 2, JSCO, and Darth for those great super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. If you're new here, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, as we are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment, including this weekend with Jessica Jones and Marquise Williams. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thanks for tuning us in. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to each and every one of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Final time tonight, we got R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection going on. It's your questions all night long. And Keith, thank you so much for being here. We're going to start off with our good friend Paramarv, who is asking.
I will be right. You didn't tell me we were going on break. Give me 10 seconds. I will be right back.
All right. Well, he's got to refill his, right. I wonder. I mean, maybe the music maybe gave it away. I don't know. Maybe the intro. Oh, that's all right. This is a first. He's walked out on the show. Yeah. I'm actually laughing here. Oh, my goodness. What does he think we do when we go to commercial break? I don't know. But that's okay. We know he's coming right back here momentarily. And we'll get to a question for our Keith Andrews. Continue with your questions. Can you imagine having that much knowledge about all of this? You know, I have talked to some very, very intelligent people who've listened to Keith, and they believe he's bang on. He may sound weird. His answers may be all over the place. Like, how does this guy know that? He knows things that he probably shouldn't. That's all from his ET connections. He's amazing that way. Absolutely amazing. You know, so I think it's a good fit. Here he comes. Back into his studio here. R. Keith Andrews, how are you, my man?
Oh, not bad. Sorry about that. You didn't tell us we were off air for a little bit. Otherwise I'd taken off.
I thought the music may have given it away. I mean, after almost 8 years of doing this, you know, I thought that might have been a sign that you might have got, but apparently not.
Rest assured, I told you a long time ago, I'm not the swiftest brick in the stack here.
Oh, I know, me either.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Paramarv here. Have you had any interactions with Valiant Thor or anyone he knows?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a very long conversation with them. Odin, who you know is Odin, was not happy when they got told to get off the planet. See, there's a neat little problem with the entire Norse god, Roman god, and Greek god pantheons, not to mention the Egyptian gods, that everything was going great, and then all of a sudden they vanished with virtually no trace. Well, what ended up happening was when they first got here, when they first arrived, mankind looked at them and went, "Oh, you're gods. You know, you're so powerful. You're gods." And they looked at it and went, "Well, okay, if we're gods, what do we get for this?" And of course, mankind went, "We're going to give you all this stuff." And the Nords went, "Bonus," which the same thing happened with the Ennead, the ones the Egyptians followed. But then the consortium pulled into the area and went, "Guys, you're not gods. Go home." And all of a sudden, almost overnight, the North, Greek, and Roman gods were gone. They pulled up stakes and left. There were a few stragglers, but on the whole, they were gone right off the bat. But they are a very gregarious, very wonderful group of people. But I will tell you, some of them are like Thor is one of the few people that can actually match drinks, at least for a time, with the dwarfid race. So yes, they are, as humans would call it, shall we say, somewhat party animals.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Ian in the UK. Good morning to you, Ian. Keith, why do ET usually appear at 2:22, 3:33, etc.? What is the connection with time?
Oddly, it's not so much they usually appear at that, as humans have learned that is an important number, and therefore humans track to it. But there are way more abductions and way more interactions going on than humans are aware of. And therefore, you'll see just as many picked up at 211, 216, 134, whatever. It's just that those repeating numbers are what humans have been taught by their own culture to focus on.
Numerology doesn't play a part
Oh,
in that?
numerology absolutely does, but humans use Pythagorean numerology, which has some critical flaws to it. That one being one. And yeah, I know that goes against everything people have been told. I work with base 12 numerology, which does not have master numbers. It only has one number that vibrates at 1. Okay, not 3.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Super Crazy. Is there anything being hidden in Antarctica regarding aliens and UFOs?
Yeah, an entire civilization. And the access to multiple civilizations. But they're not just being concealed from your common, everyday, normal person, if you will. Okay, they're being concealed from the governments, the so-called the active psychics on the planet, especially the psychic wannabes. Okay, they are being it's pretty simple. What they've done, they've created a short wormhole about a mile into the hole that mankind has found in Antarctica and in the North Pole. But they put a minor wormhole there that you get down there, and all of a sudden you're popped out the other end. You never get to see what's inside, unless the ancient races go, yeah, you can come down.
Okay,
and of course,
let's move on. Neil says, if I accidentally went through a portal, would I survive?
A wormhole, yes. Depending on where it was going. There's lots of them on Earth. Okay. There are pocket wormholes all over the place. And you'd absolutely survive them. On the whole. Okay, a black hole, you're hooked.
Okay, let's continue on. Aaron wants to know, Lakota Chief Black Elk and Ezekiel scripture both describe a conglomerate of creatures. Is this ET or holy? Why the conglomerate?
Conglomerate. Galactic and the Galactic Consortium. Or the United Federation of Planets, depending on what group you want and what name or what title you want to work with. A conglomerate is simply a group of people. As far as it being holy, that depends on whether or not you're talking to the religious people or the non-religious. According to the ETs, it's just a group of people.
Okay, moving on, because we got a ton more questions. Let's go to Keith, or voices. Keith, how bad do ghosts scare you?
Not. I know that was a short answer, but they really don't. I've had ghosts, I've had demons around me all my life. And my dad told me one day the biggest thing he was worried was that the metaphysical world does not bring any fear to me. I don't know how I can make that any. I could draw that out, but why? I really don't get afraid of them.
Just why? Jules wants to know, does the divine feminine, Mother Earth, try to communicate and interact with creation under the guise of UFOs?
Absolutely not. She's got a direct link.
Okay, explain that direct link.
Mother Earth, divine feminine, Gaia, Itza. This is a Koboran, another race. Okay, yes, she is a planet, but she has direct communication with other planets and with what you know is God. Actually, in all fairness, she's probably got a closer connection to the real one. But she doesn't work in the guise of UFOs. UFOs are their own entities. They interact with her in the same fashion by coming here and taking a look and interacting with her children. But no, the UFOs are not her method of communication.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Asimov. Do alien races have art and music?
Absolutely. The Venusians and the Orions are prime examples where they got beautiful art and music. If you're looking at just the humanoid races. But yeah, they absolutely have art and music. One of the races that don't have a lot of them are Tokians, unless you consider combat an art. At which point you're dealing with some pretty interesting setups.
Human Carl wants to know, how much longer do humans have before they are replaced as caretakers of Earth by the hybrids?
They won't be. Okay. The hybrids have nothing to do with humans being replaced. Humans have until humans wipe themselves out. But hybrids are not a threat to the humans. Hybrids are literally grown cultural interpreters. They're not conquistadors. So the hybrids themselves aren't part of the equation. Humans and their behavior towards each other is. But if mankind wipes itself out again, then some of the race will evolve to take its place.
Okay, let's continue on. Shelley wants to know, is the alien KGB manual legit?
Having not seen the KGB manual, cannot tell you for certain, but I was shown a manual a while ago from another agency that was. As a matter of fact, that one, if I could find a copy of it, I would, but I have no idea where I got it in the first place. But it corroborated a lot of the races I talk about. Just, I don't talk about them in terms of species 1964, dash QB. I talk about them in terms of, here's the racial name that I'm aware of, here's the qualities of them and their appearance, and it matches these ones. So my assessment is the KGB manual is likely a legitimate manual. I just don't know for certain.
Deb wants to know if the band ABBA are really Pleiadians and not from Sweden.
Not a prayer. A true Pleiadian can't survive on Earth. And the band ABBA, very good band. I like them. But they all breathe air very nicely, which means they are not Pleiadian. Besides that, Pleiadians aren't on the whole musicians. They're healers.
Okay, let's move on here. Let's go to Peter. Do aliens like classical music?
Some do. That's like asking if humans like punk rock. Some do.
Neil wants to know, what races come from other universes?
The simplest one I can say from other universes, I just about went the wrong direction. A lot of them. You take a look at the Strazazian, the Pleiadian are, I think they're in another star system altogether. Okay, I know the Zerzex come from the last rendition of reality and moved here. Okay, the Vrozik and the Yumion both come from another universe altogether. And there are a lot more of them. Those are just the easiest ones right off the top of my head.
All right, Keith. This is from Darth here. Are there currently any wars going on between races of aliens out there that you've heard stories of the battles?
I've been stuck right smack in the middle of them, but the answer is yes. The Strazazians and the Teklek are at war with each other. The Teklek are in a civil war with itself. The Moldocs and the Strazazians and the Tormenon are caught in a war amongst themselves. This is why I say, yes, humans are at war, but war does not bring peace. And just because the aliens have better toys does not mean they have everything sorted out.
Let's move on here, my man, and let's go to voices. Who is above God in the grand hierarchy?
I love the question. I'm still working on that. But I have been told by he himself, and I use the term he because I don't feel like going he, she, it, that, and whatever else. But I have been told by he himself that he is not the top of the totem pole. There is someone beyond him. He was simply a conduit to make this one work, this reality work.
Continuing on here, let's go to D. How do we know where portals are located on Earth?
Well, from my standpoint, accidentally running into them or sensing a massive energy surge around them. But I know of there's no technological way to actually track them down. Because you got to remember, portals are a naturally evolving thing that happens on a subquantum level. And mankind does not track subquantum well yet.
All right. Jenny wants to know, does astrology really tell the story of what happens on Earth? Does it really affect Earth?
Affect Earth? No, but it does explain it. Problem is there are some massive flaws with astrology that mean the information you're getting is likely skewed. And yes, have I looked into it? Have I taken a look at it? I was taught as a Western astrologer, so I can't tell you anything about Chinese. Okay. But have I done some research in the way of Western astrology to discover a few things? Absolutely, but it doesn't affect it. It simply records it. And your natal chart is what actually tells you what tools you were born with. It doesn't tell you what you're destined to do with your life. Only where you've got the strengths and weaknesses to do it. Then you get to figure out how to work with it.
All right, let's move on. Joe wants to know, when people get abducted by aliens, does the U.S. government know about it? Do they have a list?
Very seldom does the U.S. government or any other government know when an abduction takes place. That's something the off-worlders, they do. They go, we're taking that one, and away they go. And it has been known to happen where a criminal has been pulled out, where a government has been chasing a criminal, and the criminal has gone missing, and they're like, where did he disappear to? It does happen once in a while that they were tracking the person to start, that an off-worlder was tracking the person to start with. The guy got enough of a break from the local constabulary, and the off-worlder grabbed him. Net result, the local constabulary couldn't find him.
All
and
right,
yes,
let's
more often than not they get returned.
All right, let's continue on here, Keith. Let's go to SG Nav Spotter. What do I do with my test results from the VA after passing with flying colors after telling the truth? I was inside a UFO and contacted with aliens multiple times.
Well, to start with, I would take that paperwork and that proof to heart and remind yourself you've done all the testing you can. What you're going through is real. Nobody else has to believe you. You have to believe you, and it really boils down to take those test results, go over them, and go, okay, I said this, and they're telling me that I'm being honest. I knew it was, but now I've got the corroborating evidence. That should help you put your mind at ease as to whether you're completely off your nut. Take that to heart and live your life the best way you can.
All right, let's continue on here. And we go to Alien Universe. What is the key to achieving long-lasting peace, harmony, and cooperation among diverse civilizations and species in the universe?
Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. That three-pronged approach will bring peace across the known worlds. Problem: everybody, or the massive majority of people, have to do that. And the massive majority of people on all races are still being taught to live in fear. Which is, quite frankly, one of the primary reasons I came back to this world, was to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But ultimately, that's your key. War does not bring peace. It never has. It brings quiet, but it is not good for the economy. It never does bring peace. Okay. So there isn't much functional point to it. It's not even a good population control, in case you hadn't noticed.
Final question from our audience tonight goes to Skip to Malou. Can we sense if we have an ET in our chat room?
Well, the answer is yes. But the follow-up question that you're going to ask is who? I'm not telling you. Okay, and the reason I won't is because people have enough trouble without that kind of a secret being dropped in the middle of everybody's lap. Now, that being said, if you're suspecting you maybe, absolutely drop me a line. And because it's easy to do, there's an email address you can actually connect with me directly if you want to ask about you. About anybody else, I'm not telling you anyway.
All right, let's sneak in one more from Lord here. I've met the ETs at the age of 11 in South America. My older sister met them 4 years ago in Ohio. What do they want from us?
They are trying to understand the xeno-socioeconomic evolution of the human race at this extremely exciting time where mankind is on the verge of either blowing itself back to the Stone Age or getting itself together and unifying to join the consortium in the next rotation, as it were. That's what they're looking for. That's what they're studying. But they're not here to harm humans, on the whole.
All right, Keith, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Easiest way, I just put my email address into the chat room. But if you look up R Keith Andrews on YouTube, that's the easiest way to find me. There's a whole list of ways of contacting me. And of course, innervoiceenterprises@yahoo.ca. Or you can find me on Facebook and just about anywhere else. Worst case scenario, contact Dave. I'm pretty certain he'll give my email address.
Yeah, that always works. I'm not too worried about doing that. I've done that before. And R Keith Andrews, we say goodnight to you and thank you for another great show on the ET Connection. Coming up to kick off hour 3 after the break, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then little Timmy Senor joins us with the UFO report. Hey, we got a jam-packed hour 3 next. on the mighty SOR. Stay tuned.
It's been fun again, Dave.
Keith, your numbers keep going up and up and up and up. We hit 260 tonight with you.
Holy sheepshank.
Yeah.
Cannot complain about that.
I'll let you chat with the audience. I'm going to quickly run and take a break here.
Okie doke. So, guys, apparently I'm here for a bit. Couple of very important factors. Just like I said, my email address, and I popped it in there a couple of times for you guys. And that is right there. And this is the other one. Yeah, I don't have it there. Anyway, if you look me up on YouTube at R Keith Andrews, you can find me there as well, or on Facebook. And absolutely, I do have my own video live feed that I do just about every day, except Thursdays, from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific. So I mean, from that standpoint, you name the question, I probably deal with it. And yes, I do have a totally free newsletter I'm now putting out, but I'm only sending it out by request, either by email or by hard copy, anywhere in the world. And quite frankly, I'll send it off world if I can get an address from somebody, but thus far, they simply come in and get what they want. One thing you really gotta keep in mind, though, guys, there are different people all over the place. I do appreciate that, Doug. It's amazing from my standpoint. This was not the path I was planning on going down. But I will tell you, one thing I tell everybody I talk to, really, 4 words to put on to really keep an eye on. I am worth it. Put those 4 words on your fridge tonight. It will help immensely in your own outlook on yourself. Because I'll tell you, there's virtually nothing that you can, that you cannot do on this planet. There's a lot I would not recommend. Yeah, I remember years ago, Julie, when we were just barely getting started. Susan, I will absolutely do that. I don't know if I've got your email. If you drop me a quick email, I will absolutely get you onto the list. And here's the email just in case. Okay. Drop me an email and let me know, and I will absolutely put you on the list. Whether it's in the email form or physical, doesn't matter from my end. I'm just looking at this, and yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you there, Black Dragon. Like Black Dragon's just saying, believe in yourself, trust yourself, but most of all, love yourself. The reality of it is, we absolutely have the ability to turn this world around. The disclosure people are looking for, it's already happened. Last I checked, about 62% of people now believe that off-worlders are real, that we are no longer alone. The neat thing there, Skip to Malou, I'm just looking at what you've got here. And yeah, absolutely. When people are having troubles, there are cures for depression and what have you. Okay, I work with that sort of thing as well. I've been working in this field, not just the UFO field. The UFO field has been for life. But I've been working in the consulting field now for, private and business since 1976. But I'll tell you, the questions here are just absolutely fantastic. But the reality is, I could not do this job. Like, I couldn't do this show if it weren't for the questions that come in on such an incredible level. Dave,
Keith,
you're back.
Do you want to stick around with Tim and I?
That I can do.
All right. We'll get little Timmy Senor here when we come back from hour 3. Timmy, yeah, we got to play Tim's intro before we're allowed to bring him in. It's part of his contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right on, buddy. Good to have you here.
It's nice to actually finally be able to sit at a table or in a chair this long. Last week, I literally couldn't get out of bed half the time. I'll tell you, I know you've done it, so don't do it again.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. A few weeks ago, I could barely move. I tell you, a chiropractor, my massage therapist, pardon me, helped me right out. Hey, a big thank you tonight to Deb, Mark, Carl, Human, make that Human Carl, Mennonite Abe, AA Ron, W. Decker, T-Bone, Thomas, Lord times 3, JSCO, Darth times 2, Human Carl actually times 2, and Deb times 2 as well. Thank you for the love and support. Here comes hour number 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott, the host of this crazy show we call Spaced Out Radio. And I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nemophilist. Nemophilist is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Now, it is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing.
1950s New York City was no stranger to beautifully dressed people, but a warm June day in 1950 found a 33-year-old man dressed to the nines wandering about in the streets, appearing hopelessly lost. The bewildered man suddenly stepped out in front of a taxi and was struck, killing him almost instantly. The body was taken to the medical examiner's office, where the details became strange fairly quickly. At first glance, the man was nicely dressed, but in clothing that was at least a century old. His garb consisted of shoes that were fastened with buckles that were from a previous time period as well. He also carried banknotes that were from the 1870s, a letter from Philadelphia dated June 1867, a 5-cent copper token that had a saloon name on it no one had ever heard of, a bill from an unknown livery stable for the care of a horse, and a business card for Rudolph Fentz with an address that no one had ever heard of. Captain Hubert V. Ream of the New York Police Department Missing Persons Division took over the case in hopes of notifying the next of kin, or at least finding someone that could help identify the deceased stranger. The only leads the captain had were the few items found on the deceased man. Ream first tried the business card, but upon contacting an employee,
learned that no one had ever heard of the man, and in fact, the name on the business card was no one that was registered as working there or having ever worked there. Digging deeper into the investigation of this mystery, the detective tried a phone book. He was met with the same results. The name simply didn't exist, and no next of kin could be located. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, Ream came across the name Rudolph Finns Jr. in a phone directory dated 1939. He dialed a number, and an elderly lady answered and claimed to be the widow of the late Finns Jr. And then she related a tale almost too bizarre to believe. The lady explained that in 1876, Rudolph Finns Sr. had gone out for a daily walk, as was his routine for the 31-year-old, but on this day, he never returned home. The man she was married to, his son, Rudolph Finns Jr., was the only child of the missing man. An investigation ensued, but no clues as to the disappearance of Finns Sr. was ever found. Hanging up the phone and somewhat in disbelief, Captain Ream sat in his chair, reviewing in his head all these strange circumstances that swirled around the unidentified man in the medical examiner's office and the story which he had just been told. Believing that no sane person would ever take these newly discovered facts as evidence to an identification of the man, Ream decided to fact-check the lady's story. He went to the library and looked through news articles he could find about the missing man in 1876, and indeed came across a write-up about a massive investigation into the disappearance of Rudolph Finns Sr. Just as the lady described, he had gone for a walk and was simply never heard from again. Investigators had searched high and low for the man, but in vain. It was as if he had vanished from the face of the earth. This article even gave an account of the clothing and included a picture of the missing man in 1876 that was a complete match for the stranger from 1950. This was impossible to Ream, so much so that he decided not to mention his findings to others at the station in fear he wouldn't be believed. It is said that Captain Ream dropped the findings from the official investigation. So how did this stranger materialize in 1950s New York and be a complete match for a man that went missing almost a century prior? Was it some kind of time warp vortex he stumbled into while on his daily walk? Or was it simply two different men that closely resembled one another? Maybe even a doppelganger? This is one mystery that time is unwilling to share its secrets about.
And thank you to Steve Stockton for coming on in with another spooky story on Spaced Out Radio. Yeah, we do it all the time to kick off hour number 3, as Steve has his own great channel. Go to youtube.com/Among the Missing to check it on out and hear more creepy, scary stories just like that. From the creepy stories to the UFO world, it is time for little Timmy Senor and the UFO Report.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Little Timmy Senor, it's always good to see you, and thank you for popping on in as the weird reality of UFOs takes another weird turn, my man. And we got R Keith Andrews here hanging on out with us. His pork chop sideburns were just too much to handle tonight, and I needed more. Tim. You want to maybe unmute your microphone?
You must be drinking tea there, my friend. I see you.
No. This would be ginger ale.
Ginger ale, all right. Well, I'll cheers you with some tea. Dave, what are you sipping on over there, buddy?
I got water.
Water will work.
I got boring water.
Water
that's
will work.
Okay. That's okay.
Cheers. Cheers to everyone. And yeah, we've got some things to talk about. It's great that we're being joined tonight by Keith. It's so much fun. We haven't talked in quite a while, so this will be a great catch up. It's great to see your smiling face, my friend.
Nice seeing you too there, Tim.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about the monumental UFO scandal, really, that we're facing right now? With the looming between either decades-long cover-up or a brazen disinformation campaign. And really, it's one of the two, isn't it? Based on the recent whistleblowers.
I think you'll find it's actually a combination of both.
I love it. Please. And you know what? I would love to get your take on the recent whistleblower, David Grush, and the other whistleblowers and witnesses that came forward in the recent hearings. Keith, did you feel like this was a big deal, or did you feel like this was common knowledge?
Well, as far as Grush goes, from what I was just informed about what he said, essentially he's on the right track. I can't speak to the exact specifics. As far as the actual hearings went, I deliberately avoided them. Because from my standpoint, the disclosures already happened. People, we're already over 60% of people accept the fact that off-worlders are here. And therefore, as far as the whistleblowers go, depends on who they are. As far as I know, as far as what we were talking about, because we just broached the subject of Grush today. And from what I was told of what he was saying, he's absolutely on the money. Am I going to comment on which underground base holds what? No.
Yeah, it's that big tease that R Keith Andrews gives to him. Yeah,
Yeah.
he knows where it is. He's not spilling the beans. But you know what? This whole controversy that's going on, there needs to be some clarity. Okay, everybody's taking advantage of this, whether it's UFO radio, whether it's reporters, whether it's fake reporters, whether it's conferences. Everybody wants a piece of the UFO pie right now. David Grush is the biggest piece of that UFO pie. And look, we have to realize, and sometimes we put these people on a pedestal. Okay, Lou Elizondo, I remember asking him one day, a few years ago on a phone call. I said, Lou, do you like being, I said, we're off the record, but I want to ask you this question. Do you like being a demigod for a lot of these people in ufology? And he, as much as he appreciated the support, okay, because he is a nice guy, he hated the fact that he was put on this pedestal and treated like he was some sort of religious icon. He hated it. He said that's not the mission. He's very militarized, okay, because of his background. He's like, that's not the mission. That's not what this is about. It's not about the popularity. It's not about the free beers at the bar or whatever. It's about getting the mission complete, which is disclosure overall and hopefully in the future. And I can see the same thing happening with David Grush. This is a guy whose family is getting threatened. He's admitted that. This is a guy who thankfully has probably been forewarned to stay out of the UFO community. This is a guy who we don't even know if he has social media because of the harassment that he is taking online from many. Okay, yes, he has way more supporters than he has detractors. But I wouldn't want to be in David Grush's shoes right now.
I can relate to that all too well.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, Tim, would you want to be in David Grush's shoes right now?
I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, but if I had the information, I would gladly do it.
See, I'm on a slightly different issue there with you, Tim. One of the reasons I have kept quiet for so long, and I've told people this, last thing I want to ever be done is put on a pedestal. And I was talking to one guy, and he made it real clear. He goes, you can't stop people from putting you on a pedestal. And Dave's in very much the same boat in a lot of ways. You've been put on a pedestal, right? But you can't stop people from putting you on a pedestal. The key is not to see yourself as being on said pedestal. That's the way to avoid a lot of problems.
I completely agree. And perhaps we can consider The Hill has a recent article that considers two sides of the coin when it comes to this topic. And so I love, Keith, that you're seeing confirmation in a lot of what's being brought forward. And Dave, I know that you're kind of skeptical, yet open. to everything that's coming and enthusiastic also. The Hill kind of takes this view and offers up that there are two potential outlooks on this. And so they consider the decades-long saga of UFOs is barreling headlong towards one of two stunning conclusions. Either the US government has mounted an extraordinary, decades-long cover-up of the UFO retrieval and reverse engineering activities, or the elements of the defense and intelligence establishment are engaging in a staggeringly brazen psychological disinformation campaign, right? And I would love us to consider, before I even dig deeply into this, because it's pretty profound implications, how potentially could either of these take place? If there was a cover-up, Dave or Keith, how could that potentially take place for so long? Would it be compartmentalization of information, forced NDAs and forced silence? Or how does something like this take place potentially for decades if this is one of the potentials?
One way is we're not talking about one government. We are talking about almost every government and religious and mainstream religion doing exactly the same thing. But you got to remember, they all have one thing in common. They're all human. Okay. And the reality is the human race has been educated over the last several centuries. Well, frankly, over the last several millennia, that you fear that which you do not understand. That which you do not understand, fear. That which you fear, strive to control. That which you cannot control, strive to destroy. And that which you cannot destroy, fear. Now, you also have to remember, the religious society has essentially browbeaten people into believing that off-worlders do not exist. Therefore, our entire civilization is built from millennia back on the concept that mankind was on its own and everything else was all fear-based. And if you believed in that, we're going to burn you at the stake, or we're going to shoot you, or ostracize you, or whatever. So people have learned to button their lip. Even in today's world, when you look at the UFO community, and I can't tell you the number of people I've spoken to that claim to be in the UFO community, and the moment you mention, oh, I think I may have been abducted, or I may have seen a UFO. Oh, no. Yeah, it happens, but you've never seen it. You're just looking for attention. So I mean, it is a massive combination of things. Part of the cover-up is absolutely necessary. You think about it. Just think you're Caucasian, okay? Like you're Caucasian, Tim. And how do you feel? I'm guessing you're not 7 feet tall. So, nope. So when you think about that, if a Caucasian, if a Caucasian that is 7.5 feet tall walks by you, do you not feel a little intimidated?
Sure.
Picture what happens if you get a 15-foot bipedal human giant, also known as an Anunnaki. Picture what happens if one of those walks by you. Humans will fear it on the whole.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, it's a combination of cover up and disinformation and threats. And yes, selective assassinations or murders. Yeah, I know that's a terrible thing to say. But you'll notice I'm not using names.
Right. And so my assumption by your response is that we can't handle the truth. And so the cover-up was imperative. And so no matter what it took, they made sure that these secrets were kept. Is that what you're saying?
Ultimately, yes. This does not, in my eyes, doesn't justify it, but it does explain it.
Dave, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. Tim, a number of months ago, we were talking about this exact topic. And what were we saying? We said, number one, the U.S. government's either going to come out and say extraterrestrials are real, or Dr. Stephen Greer was right that there was going to be a false flag on this. And everything is pointing to that exact thing we've been saying for a year. Once again, we were the only ones talking about it. And now look where we are. You think people would pay attention in the UFO community to what we're saying, because we're reading this story pretty accurately, Tim. I mean, do you agree? We had that conversation numerous times.
We have on this show. Absolutely. And we've presented it this way. I'm curious, Dave, let's flip the coin for a moment. And I'll start with you because I'm really curious. What would a disinformation campaign look like? What would it take for everything that's being released right now to be disinformation or misinformation? How deep would it have to be? And where would it have to be seated? And is that potentially what we're looking at?
A disinformation campaign, in my opinion, started on December 17th, 2016 or 2017 with the New York Times article. It actually started about 6 weeks prior to that with the formation of the To the Stars Academy, where Tom DeLonge came out bragging that he put together this power team. But when we looked at the list, 90% of them were all employees of Robert Bigelow from Bigelow Aerospace, with the addition of Steve Justice from Lockheed and Luis Elizondo. Okay, that's where it started. You will notice that at first, when they came out with this idiotic UAP instead of UFO, the first thing I noticed with that was I went on their website. That entire pressless press conference, and we were the first to say, where was the press at the press conference? There was no press there. Red flag number one. Red flag number two. They were talking about UFOs and these sightings. Remember, they showed the videos and highlights. Lou comes on stage talking about UFOs. Other people came on stage. Hal Puthoff and Jim Semivan spoke. Steve Justice spoke about UFOs. But when you went to the Stars Academy website, there was not one UFO or one UAP on that entire website. That was red flag number two. Control the media, control the narrative. And that's exactly what the To the Stars Academy accomplished. Then they had a number of people come online, okay, who were viciously defending anybody who questioned the narrative, okay, with sock puppet accounts, with personal accounts. And I know I was one of the ones attacked for that. What all I was saying is, can you please answer me this question? Then dodging certain media outlets. So we're going to have to continue this over because we only got about 45 seconds because I want to break this down. It's important. Okay. So what happened then, Tim, is instead the media never wanted this subject. It's not that the media is bought. It's not that they have CIA agents in every newsroom. That's not true. The ego of news directors out there and the woke mob out there in the media, okay, they wanted nothing to do with this story. So when it dropped, they were caught with their pants down. What did the To the Stars Academy do? They said, hold on a second, guys. We're going to give you the guy who ran the program. We're going to give you the fighter pilot. We're going to give you the government insider. It's all you need for the interviews. It's all you need. We've already provided it for you along with the answers. And the media, not wanting this topic, said, cha-ching, we just hit the slot machine jackpot. And I'll continue that when we return on Spaced Out Radio with the UFO report. Tim Senor is with us, our resident Timbit, and R Keith Andrews still hanging out with us with his beautiful sideburns. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. This is a good one. That's a good question, Tim.
It's a beautiful show
really
tonight.
was.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I am
you
curious
guys.
how many people you actually have in the room right now, though, Dave.
233.
Nice.
233.
Staying up late, hanging out.
Yep.
So, have you guys ever seen a Michael Douglas film called Falling Down?
No.
No.
It's basically it starts out with him in traffic, and it's horrible traffic in LA, I believe. And just one thing goes wrong after another. His car breaks down, then he's on foot. He loses his briefcase to some kids.
Oh, I know
And-
the highlights. That's
and
where
he
he
ends
goes
up,
to the restaurant with the machine guns that said, "You got my order wrong."
I think it ends poorly. Yeah. Well, that kind of describes my day without the guns and the anger. But I kind of had one of those days today where just like everything seemed to be going wrong around me. But I mean, I managed to get through it, but it's one of those super frustrating days where literally all the traffic lines up in front of you when you're on the road. You know what I mean? They all come out of their lanes and just get in front of you. You've had these days, you know, you have. You go through the drive-through for your family or something, and they get your order completely wrong. And your family's so bummed out that you have to go back. And you might even know this story, Dave, because I kind of let you know. You got the highlight, but there was a low light to that story too.
Oh.
You know, and so I had gone out to visit my good friend Terry Hall today, and I experienced just madness on the roads. Oregonians could be more thoughtful at the wheel. Let's just say that.
Oh, yeah, but that would mean they were trained properly.
Try driving in downtown Vancouver.
No, don't. Dave, you won't have so much trouble in downtown Vancouver if you'd learn. You stay on the sidewalks, you won't have the problem with the cars.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love that.
Vancouver is famous where I'm in the slow lane, but I'm turning left.
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to do it with no signal lights.
Yeah, with no signal lights. Just move over. I own the road.
The one thing you got to give Alberta, as in Calgary, over Vancouver, is in Calgary, if they're changing lanes, they're from here to over here right now.
Alberta, everything is like 30 above the speed limit.
They have a speed limit?
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah.
No. In BC, it's like, oh, we're changing lanes. No, maybe not. Yeah, I think I'm going to go. Yeah.
Well, there's Terry Hall in the chat room and his
can
beautiful
vouch.
mustache.
He can definitely vouch for my visit this afternoon.
Be honest. How was Terry's mustache today?
Oh, you could swing from those handlebars. Just swing. Rev it up and swing. They're beautiful.
I bet you he's got at least 8 gears. At least 8 gears.
And you don't want to shift into 8th gear.
Dave.
Trust me.
Yeah, there was
Hi, Bombshell Bomber. Much love to you, dear. Sorry, Terry. I'm sorry, Keith.
Actually, I'm just going to let you know that Bomber was giving you a left-handed flight.
Yeah. Hi, Corey Cole. How you doing? Bombshell half the time doesn't remember me typing in when I say hi, Bombshell Bomber. She never reads it. Then she bitches that I never say hello to her. Awkward. Dame likes to eat Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams while driving. What the hell are Zoom Zoom and Wham Whams?
I was going to ask you the same thing, to be honest.
Hold on. Zoom Zooms. It's only toys. What the hell are Zoom Zooms? They're toys. What the hell are Wham Whams?
I don't know. I know there were a couple of guys that were called Wham, but I doubt very much that's what he's referring to.
Wham Whams are a prison slang term used by older jail inmates or prison convicts for jail or prison inmates store or commissary bought items such as small cakes or pies. That's what Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams are.
Now they're the cockroach from hell.
Jeez.
How do you explain that, Uri Geller? This was posted.
I saw that earlier.
Yeah, Uri Geller posted this on Twitter saying that his American lawyer, I think, or accountant, had sent this to him. He's not saying it's real, but if it is, yikes.
All right, here we go, guys. 5 seconds. We have rounded third. We are now heading for home on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you with us as we continue the UFO report. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. All right, Tim Senor is back with the UFO report. R Keith Andrews is hanging out with us. He's going the distance. Been a great show so far. And we are talking about, Tim, you were mentioning about this disinformation campaign. Where did it start? How did it start?
Yeah.
And I was kind of breaking it all down for you.
Yeah, a monumental UFO scandal is afoot with either a decades-long cover-up or a brazen disinformation campaign. And importantly, a third explanation for recent events that dozens of high-level, highly cleared officials have come to believe enduring UFO myths, rumors, and speculation as fact appears increasingly unlikely. So in June, the U.S. Air Force veteran and former intelligence official David Grush alleged the elements of the U.S. government were secretly and illegally overseeing a decades-long UFO retrieval and reverse engineering effort. Two defense officials corroborated that broad contours of Grush's stunning claims and has stated that he provided a wealth of highly classified evidence to the powerful internal investigative agencies overseeing the DoD. And so I'd love to get your take on these two potential options. And Dave, you were kind of covering some of the fact that it would take quite a lot for this to be a disinformation campaign of recent years. It's more something that's been going on for a long time and potentially surfacing in really strange ways now. So before I speak for you, please, I'd love to hear your take.
We have to remember, though, Tim, prior to the internet, okay, people still believed the government. All right? People still believed that the government wouldn't hide things from them, wouldn't cause conspiracy theories. Around JFK, that started to change. Down south. Up here, it did not. And to this day, some people still have a blind eye. Okay, that the government's going to do what it's supposed to do for me because this is Canada. We're learning that it's not that way right now. Okay, but when it comes to UFOs, it wasn't until the To the Stars Academy came out and started changing the entire narrative. Okay, like I was breaking down in the prior half hour. Then we look at it. We weren't allowed to call them UFOs anymore. We had to call them UAPs because that was the government official term. Okay. We weren't allowed to go past anything prior to 2004 with the USS Nimitz incident. We weren't allowed to talk aliens, even though Commander David Fravor was talking about how there is no way these Tic Tacs are from here. We heard Russia, China, Russia, China, Russia, China. But they're not of this earth. They're acting like they're not of this earth. So when asked or pushed about aliens behind the scenes, I was told we're not allowed to talk about that yet. The public isn't ready. And guess what? The litmus test was COVID. The litmus test was how are people treating each other? And in COVID, we had the worst of the worst of the way people were treating each other.
Right.
People were ratting each other out. People were hoarding milk, ripping food out of single moms' grocery carts, going to the store, buying $2,000 worth of meat, 10 jugs of milk that'll go bad before you even use them, 3,000 rolls of toilet paper because somehow COVID created a shortage of trees.
Right.
But this is what happened. This is what happened. And it comes down to when you control the media, you control the narrative. Remember, this show here put out 15 requests for interviews to the Stars Academy. Only once did they come back and say, who would you like? Could you provide the questions for us prior to the interview? No, that's not journalism. You'll answer what I ask. I won't throw you under the bus, but I got some hard questions to ask you. Okay? That's where it started. And what we see today is the narrative has been jumbled so much because of congressional hearings. And so many new faces have popped up, from Ryan Graves to Chris Lado to Stephen Greenstreet to many others. Mick West nobody knew Mick West was, or Keith Kluwer, or, David Grush. Nobody knew. And when you started adding all of these different players, this is where people started choosing sides. It all started, all of this animosity that we see today in the UFO world started because people didn't want to have questions answered or questions asked. They dodged them. The government, by the way, doesn't know what's going on because they haven't been questioned hard. A perfect example of that is how, for the last 9 months, we on this show are one of the only shows doing it who has been calling out NASA for their lies and cover-up. Who else is doing that? How can the top space program in the world not know about UFOs? Or their executive director, Bill Nelson, can talk about Navy UFOs without opening up his own closet, and then convince the government to give him $100,000 to spend on a useless study where nothing was answered. It's all about controlling the narrative. We've seen this through the military-industrial complex, and I know I'm eating up a lot of time on this, Tim, but people have to look at the timeline, how they have shut everything off to the public. NASA did, the FBI has, CIA has, NSA has, the Air Force did, the Army never commented, the Marines never commented, Coast Guard never commented, Space Force never commented, and more importantly, the United States Navy, because it was their videos. Why didn't they ever contact publicly about the Stars Academy putting their logo on U.S. Navy videos? Why wasn't there any fallback from that?
Right.
Number one. And number two, right before the hearings last year, We were told by the U.S. Navy, we're not playing this game anymore. We're done giving you information. That's part of the military-industrial complex, telling elected officials and the American people, screw you, we're bigger than you, and we know it.
Right. You're absolutely right. And just briefly, I'd love to bring up that, in fact, Canada has a strange connection to the recent U.S. hearings, right? Because we know that Paul Hellyer, the former Canadian Minister of National Defense, has said that there have been numerous occasions when U.S. government officials have been face to face with alien life forms, and came out very publicly with his support on pushing for UAP uh, um, transparency. And so I would love to get your take on Canada's position more recently, because now we are looking for some support from other countries. So how do you feel, Paul Hellyer in particular would be, historically in support of this?
Paul Hellyer, in my estimation, and there will be a lot of people who don't disagree with me or who disagree with me on this, Paul Hellyer was not a hero of Canada. Okay? This is a man who killed our aviation industry. He absolutely murdered our military. And he saved face by coming out because of UFOs, saying that they have he knew of 5 different species that were on this planet. But the funny part about Paul Hellyer was that he never ever said he knew anything about UFOs until he was 80 something years old. Yet in 1967, under his watch, he opened up a UFO landing pad in St. Paul, Alberta, to celebrate Canada's 100th birthday. And the sake was, anybody can come to Canada. We take everybody.
I love that. I love that. And what do you feel about the recent Liberation Times article?
I'm just not done yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Then in 1967, the Falcon Lake incident happens prior to Canada Day. There's information galore. He knew nothing about it. 3 weeks after an election where the conservative or the liberal government that Hellyer was part of got booted, Shag Harbor happened. Of course, he would be in the know in the transition of that happening. And yet he says he knew nothing about UFOs. Nothing. He knew more. Okay? He knew more. But Paul Hellyer is not a hero in Canada. Even when he died, very few media outlets even mentioned it. Even though he was on our Privy Council until he was 95 years old. Okay? So, did he know? Was he in the know? He knew of things happening. He knew of Canada's Woo Desk. But was he truly in the know? I don't think so.
Cool. Okay. So how do you feel about the UK's Ministry of Defense coming forward and denying knowledge of UFO retrieval programs, not only in their country, but in others? And so the UK's Ministry of Defense has told Liberation Times that they have no knowledge of crash retrieval programs relating to material of unexplained origin. And the denial comes after allegations of potential Five Eyes Alliance involvement in crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs relating to materials and craft of non-human intelligence. How do you feel about that? That's kind of another bold denial, if you will, coming from another country.
Of course they're going to say that. The Brits haven't wanted to talk about this. 2 years ago, in their House of Lords, one of their representatives stood up and talked about all of the UFO action that's coming to conversation in the U.S. And the minute that they started asking questions, is this happening in the United Kingdom? They were shot down immediately by the Minister of Defense. They didn't want to talk about it. Why do you think Nick Pope brings nothing to the table? except bad hair. Okay? Well, he's got Velcro hair. Everybody knows it. Why can't we just admit it? It's horrible hair.
At least he's
Okay.
got hair.
All right? But
Oh,
the
just
truth,
cut a marker there, Tim.
yeah. But I mean, the truth of the matter is this, okay? There is a cover up going on. This is why I say to people, we are watching the first public battle of the military industrial complex versus public elected officials who actually give a care about this subject and are using it to figure out how many roadblocks there are. Wait until the military and the military contractors start saying to people like Tim Burchett, saying, "Oh, you know that contract that ABC company has in your riding, in your district, and they're making the tracks for tanks or the guns for F-15s. Yeah, guess what? We're going to close up that shop and we're going to move that over to Arkansas. Or we're going to move that to Missouri. Yeah, because you're not playing the game, Tim. You're not playing the game.
Well, do you think that potentially we're seeing the signs that the United States is about to open up some of its historical books, and maybe some of the other members of the Five Eyes know it? When we hear something like this, when speaking last night on UK's BBC Radio 4, and when asked whether this alleged cover-up extends to other nations, Grush responded, "It does not cross into other countries and other allies to include the Five Eyes alliance, which is something I've already stated publicly." And then he added, "It is certainly not an American issue." Do you feel like that somehow, as we see the UK closing their doors, potentially they're seeing the fact that the US is about to open theirs on this topic?
U.S. isn't opening their doors. Let's get that clear right now. The doors are not opening. The most we're going to get is confirmation. We're not getting disclosure. Okay? We may hover around it. Disclosure means more than just finding out what a Tic Tac is or finding out the Americans have a UFO or 2 or 9, including a sports model. Okay? It's way more than that, Tim. Disclosure is everything that leads to this subject. Where's the video from the Air Force Base where the UFO comes down? Where's the video? What happened in Phoenix in 1997? What about Kecksburg? What are the Marfa lights? What about all the different crashes? What about the Americans coming onto Canadian soil and stealing a UFO that crashed? Is that allowed?
Yeah, you make a great point. And we know that Rendlesham Forest incident potentially had film taken place, according to witnesses. And then we have this recent statement coming from an MOD spokesperson saying, quote, "MOD is not aware of any salvage operations with materials of unexplained origin." And I just can't believe that. It feels like those doors are never going to open, especially in that country. And they say things like, while this straightforward denial might seem unremarkable, it's significant because the MOD has previously neither confirmed nor denied that it's in touch with Arrow, and fell back on the policy of not commenting on intelligence matters when asked about UK participation. So I feel like that is definitely kind of like the US Navy did, just slamming the doors on information. And so it almost feels very interestingly timed with the fact that we have these whistleblowers and witnesses coming forward and demanding to be talked about on these topics. And historically, it's up to Arrow, is it not, to look into some of these historical cases?
Yeah, but Kirkpatrick doesn't want to. He's too close to retirement. He's within a year of retirement, 18 months maximum. He doesn't care because he knows he could go into the private sector, do the exact same job for a company like Enigma Labs, And Sean Kirkpatrick is going to see his salary doubled, if not tripled, with the knowledge that he hides from this position, because he's still going to have security clearance, because that's where Enigma Labs is going. And apparently they just got another big push courtesy of Palantir. But who owns Palantir?
Right.
Peter Thiel.
Indeed.
The man who has invested $5 to $8 million into this private Enigma Labs group. We're being set up. The public is being set up to be shunned on this topic. And that sucks. It really sucks.
Potentially.
No.
Okay, potentially. But I mean, we know Dr. Kirkpatrick remains unbiased, according to him in a recent letter, but feels that there's no there. And how do you respond to that?
NASA says there's no there. We know they're lying. Look, they don't want to be honest. This is why I'm saying, Tim, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. There is a reason why the military-industrial complex is setting in, because the public is getting too close to potential answers. They want the technology. They want the energy. They want the free gravity. They want the free energy. Okay? They want it all, because that's the way they are. And they don't like politicians, especially ones who are on a timeline, snooping around their areas saying, why can't I have this toy? Why can't I have free energy? Why can't I have a flying car like the Jetsons? That's what it all comes down to. Keith, going to give you the final word on all that. We got about 30 seconds.
Well, the reason I haven't said anything is because, number one, I don't follow the news. But what we're talking about here is something that they have to keep quiet. They're not going to come out for about another 50 to 100 years with the information, because society wouldn't survive at this stage. You know, it literally boils down to a question of, if you're going to maintain this, if you're going to maintain societal stability, you have to keep quiet on it for the time being.
And thank you guys for a great show tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody sitting at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. All right, let the free-for-all begin.
Oh, baby. I have one more nerd question for Dave, and then we can get into some fun stuff if you want to stick around. But
Yeah.
I know I'd asked you this question earlier in the week, and we kind of bounced it back and forth. At one point, I had heard that there was going to be a UAP field committee where members of Congress were going to get to go to places like Boeing, potentially, or somewhere where these programs were supposed to take place, or who knows where.
Mhm.
Now, we never really got any follow-up, but I think it might have taken place. What would be potentially the outcome of something like that if Congress was actually shown firsthand reverse technology or whatever X is?
Sure.
What would
Sign this piece of paper right here with your name on it. And after we show you what it never gets spoken of again. Look,
could it
all
yeah
of these people who are talking tough. We saw it with Senator Gillibrand. We've seen it with Tim Burchett. Okay. They're all talking tough. They're going to get to the bottom of this. But guess what? They're all pushing things where? Into the back rooms for private conversations. They're fulfilling their own macabre interest in this story. And I think this is maybe only the second time I've ever used the word macabre on this show.
good word.
Okay, excellent word. Needs to be used more. Okay? But Tim, remember Burchett was sitting there beating his chest that he was going to be the one who was going to bring this all out to the public. He finally gets his hearing, and guess what? He puts it behind closed doors. Why?
Yeah.
If you want to be the hero, if you want to be the star, okay, be a man, let your balls drop like a man, and bring it to the public.
Okay.
Cheryl,
And
you're welcome to SOR chat.
do you think it at least could affect legislation and trickle down that way?
No, because it won't get there.
Okay, well, if you were, as you are, somebody in the media, okay, and you knew the location of a UFO craft that was downed, and it was so big that they had to put a building around it. If you knew the location of that, would you make it public even if it burned your source? With that big of knowledge, if it was fact?
I know where you're going with that, and I think that's an incredible question. I will answer it like this. If I'm not allowed to talk about where it is, I wouldn't have mentioned it. Okay? Why Ross Coulthart? And I love Ross Coulthart. I think the man is brilliant. And I think if anybody is on the trail right now, it's Ross Coulthart. Okay? I wouldn't have mentioned it. All right?
Good answer.
I would have waited until, okay. I'm not saying I'm better than Ross Coulthart. I'm here on the journalism level. Ross Coulthart is this high, much higher. Okay. Hundreds of levels higher than me. Okay. I don't understand why he did that.
Okay.
I wouldn't have personally done that. But you know what? His source may have said, look, you can tell people this is it, but I'm not telling you where the building is. Now, off the record, his source may have said it's at 872 Broadway Street in Vernal, Utah. Okay.
Could be
that
there.
may have happened. We're never going to know.
It could be there. I love that answer. That was a brilliant answer. Keith, I have a special question for you. With the dawning... Whoa, what is that?
That's me.
Okay.
I was gonna say I didn't do that.
And I was like, Keith, wow, you did that with no hands. So with the dawning of AI and kind of the dawning of UAP and UFO topic at the same time right now, we're definitely in danger of receiving a lot of fake UFO videos and fake alien video. And I actually gave you a taste of how good it can look. AI is really in danger of interrupting a lot of this topic. How do you feel we're going to be able to distinguish the real from the fake moving forward? And is it going to take experts like yourself to be able to determine what is real and what isn't?
Well, let's clarify one thing. When it comes to photos and videos, I haven't got a prayer of telling you whether they're real or not. I am not a video analyst. All I can do is tell you that picture you're showing is representative of something I know is real or something I suspect is not. Prime example, there is a video of a couple of raptor-like animals running through the New York sewers. I will tell you, from what I saw, behavior, appearance, the whole 9 yards, those were tech-like. I cannot tell you whether the video was real. Okay, but the answer to your question, people aren't going to be able to tell. But then people can't tell now. Not on the whole.
Do you think that we're, just as a follow-up, do you think that potentially the even U.S. government could use AI to instill some kind of, I hate to say it, but alien invasion via AI and the development of such video techniques that can be convincing and along with the right media could be very convincing? Could that potentially happen?
Obvious.
Yeah.
Could they do it the way you phrased it? The answer is definitively yes, they could.
Can I respond when Keith is done?
Oh, please.
Go ahead, Keith.
Could it be done? The answer is yes. Are they prone to doing that sort of thing? Absolutely yes. Okay, but let's understand one little detail. What people are calling AI is false. That is not AI. It is a very intricate program, beautifully built, but it's not artificial intelligence. Okay, but can mankind and will mankind, whether it's government or whether it's corporation, use it for their own purposes? Absolutely they will.
Here's the thing, though, where AI will fail. Tim, and that is the beautiful part of the public and social media. So if the government all of a sudden puts out these AI videos that are showing alien ships or craft or whatever that are flying through New York, Manhattan airspace, when that hits the media, the first thing that the public is going to do is they're going to go outside and try and film it themselves. Okay. And when they notice that there is nothing there, that's where AI is going to fail the government at that project. So it doesn't behoove the government to sit there and say there's 40 UFOs flying over Manhattan at this time, and they were shooting into the all the big high rises that are there. Okay, the invasion is on. We got to protect ourselves. That doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense because the public in a social media world are going to want that selfie. They're going to want that TikTok. They're going to want that YouTube short, and they're going to go after that video.
Okay.
And when they realize that there is nothing there, that's where the government gets called out.
Okay, so consider we're back in 2017 and there's a New York Times article that comes out with 3 videos and they're all AI this time. And they've been verified by Enigma Labs, and Enigma said this is the real deal, and they are the projectile for those, if you will, the carrier of that information with the confirmation. They've had SCU and a few others that have verified this video as well, but it's a deep AI fake. Let's consider it gets through the media, and New York Times puts it on their headlines as being verified new videos. They're not saying whether they're real or not, but when people view them, they're pretty convincing. The same way the 2017 videos were for all of us. I would just like to consider that for a moment and think with the right media behind it, anything can be believed. And people, you can see just by today, the streets of New York are filled with people looking for free PlayStations. How quick would it be if it was something a little more threatening and a little more imperative than a free PlayStation? I'm just saying it's a dangerous time, to be talking about this. I'm not trying to stir it up, but I consider this a real topic. And, we've already seen how the government has used this topic for its own, who knows what. And so we've kind of been talking about the two sides of the potential of this being a deep fake or something real. And so I thought it was a fair topic to pose to you guys tonight, deep thinkers. And so maybe you'd considered that as, we were fooled once. Why wouldn't we be fooled again?
It's possible.
See, it's like I've told people, like I said earlier tonight, and I said on my last stream, humans are taught one little thing, okay, and that is that which fear that which you don't understand. And the human race has been taught for centuries to really bend to the thought of fear. So you fear what you don't understand. That which you don't understand, strive to control. That which you cannot control, strive to destroy. And that which you cannot destroy, fear. So this thing all keeps going back and forth. And today's, what people call AI today, beautiful programming. But there is no emotional quantification for it, which means it's not AI. It's not AI. And Lord help the world, Lord help the human race, if AI is actually developed. Because I'll tell you, if that's the case, the UFO confusion is the least of society's problem.
Yeah, you're so right. Attach an emotion to something artificial intelligent, and you don't know what you're going to get. It may decide that we're bothersome.
Well, let me ask you this. On an AI standpoint, what's the cure for war on the planet when you got two countries at war with each other? What's the solution?
Delete those countries.
Bingo. That's just a simple computer solution. It's also, by the way, the same solution that many of the off-worlders have.
Interesting. Very interesting you bring that up.
War itself has never been a functional issue. It's never brought peace. It was for a time, back in World War I, war was an economic boost because everything was done by hand, so they hired everybody and brought them into work. Today, you turn a button, you push it. Okay, it doesn't require a whole lot more manpower. And I'll tell you talk to anybody, even with this whole UFO controversy, this whole disclosure controversy thing going on. Research happens better when you're not dodging bullets. Especially when you're not dodging bullets. I mean, you take a look at some of the greatest minds. You guys know the names of these people. Okay, that are in the secret development programs. Now, picture if they could be honest about what they were doing without worrying about being shot, would they not be able to concentrate more on the rapid development and subsequent deployment of this equipment?
Yeah.
Than they are if they're worried about being shot?
Absolutely. It's a great point. Dave, your thoughts?
I think that AI is dangerous. I think it will be weaponized, which is unfortunate. Look, I'm all for AI on a number of things, okay? If it helps blind people see again, if it helps paralyzed people walk again, if it helps find that little spring in the brain that causes our loved ones not to have dementia or Alzheimer's again, and we can eliminate those type of diseases, if we can eliminate people from getting addicted to drugs, okay, like fentanyl or even cigarettes, I'm all for it. Let's do it if it's benefiting humanity.
I love
And
it.
I agree with you there, Dave. The thing I concern myself with is if it's AI and it takes a blind person and gives them vision. If it's true AI, that true AI can go, "Oh, you're not treating me exactly the way I want, so I'm shutting your eyes off."
Wow. Good point. Wow. So you're saying that we could eventually become enslaved by true AI. That is
True
deep.
AI would wipe out mankind. It's just
Wow.
that simple.
Or enslave, even worse, right?
Mankind is too
Like you're
weak for them
saying,
to
turn
bother.
off our eyes or feed us when we work for them.
Where would the logic be in enslaving the human race that can be wiped out with a blink of an eye?
To keep a good point. Yeah, no, great point. I'd love to shift gears. I have a final question for you guys before I sign off. If that's okay, Dave. I'm sorry. I just have questions tonight for some reason.
Fire away, dude.
Cool. So we know that recently David Grush said, and I quote, "I know the exact locations of retrieved UFOs, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and to congressional intelligence committees." So we know that we potentially have more of these hearings coming September 25th. And around that time, is the next step the fact that now they know where they are, that we discuss the details of those locations? Would that ever be made public? And I'm super curious, Keith, do you think that this could be a moment where we're getting more confirmation and specifics about crash retrievals?
I doubt very much they will reveal crash sites. Are we getting more confirmation? Certainly. And a lot of that is because people are now starting to ask questions more vocally. The thing we have to realize is you take a government, take 100,000 people living in a city. What percentage of that is actually working directly for the government? Okay. People say the government run the place, but the reality is the power is still in the hands of the people. And if you reveal all these crash sites with the current fear and greed-based society we live in, that would be an absolute chaotic, it would be decimation across the board.
Good point. I love the
You
way your
wouldn't be
mind
able to
works.
control it.
Yeah, I love the way you think, Keith. I'm so glad that you're joining us tonight. It's so great. I'm really enjoying it. Dave, what do you think?
I'm in the process of editing here.
Okay,
Can you just repeat the question again,
sure.
buddy?
Since Grush came forward and said publicly that, quote, "I know the exact locations of retrieved UFOs, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and the Congressional Intelligence Committees." So now that that is in the hands of Congress, do you think that they potentially have acted on it? And we, as the public, in the future hearings on the 25th of September, supposedly, will hear some details, and maybe Congress can act on some of those locations, and we could get details of historic or active crash retrievals and reverse engineering. Long-winded question, but now the cat's out of the bag.
Here's
So-
what I think on that. Tim, let's say you had a crash. Let's say you had 100 acres in Oregon and you had a crash on your property. That's not top secret. Okay? There's no reason why we shouldn't know about where the crashes happen unless they happen on secret military bases or unless they grabbed craft from other countries for their own benefit illegally.
Yeah.
You
so
you
now-
do remember we live in a computer age, right? With
Yeah.
satellites all over the world. We've got the internet. This silly thing here. Okay, and I know people argue the point, but this silly thing here. Number one, the cameras work even if they're not turned on. Now, with all this data access, I'm telling you, the government knows where these crash sites were before he ever said anything. So do most of the major corporations. So this is not like it's a big secret.
Well, that's where they're hiding it.
Being kept from the population, but
Right, but now that he's stated that he has given those details to Congress, it kind of holds Congress responsible. And so publicly, don't we deserve to know how they're going to react to that information?
well, two factors. One, I'm not debating what he said, but the first question that comes to my mind, and call me paranoid if you want, is did he actually tell anybody anything? Yes, he said he did. He said he's got the information. My first question is always, does he have the information, and did he in fact pass it on? Number two, does the population deserve to know this stuff? Let me ask you this: what would happen if the information on how to make the anthrax virus was released to the general population? Because it should be known. It is a secret, it is a well-contained secret formulae. But should the general population have access to that information?
Right.
And would it actually benefit anybody?
That's a good point.
I mean, heck, mankind came up with a brilliant idea. Let's put detergent in pods. And some genius decided this was a great thing to eat.
Right.
You know, this is the kind of intellect we're talking about on this planet. Do you really want this kind of information in the hands of JQ public?
Right. Right. I would love to get at least
in the hands of Trudeau.
Dave.
Try that again.
I said I'd have it in the. It's probably safer to have it in the hands of the public than in the hands of Trudeau.
Okay, well, you're setting the bar low.
It's the kids with matches thing again. Well, this has been really fun, you guys. I'm going to let you go. I know Dave likes to stay up a little later on Friday, so this has been fun. Keith, it's been a pleasure. I know
It has been, Tim.
Last time
you
we hung
know how
out,
to track me down.
I do. And last time my daughter was here asking questions with you, so if you remember. But it's been fun, you guys. I will sign off, and thanks for staying up later.
We'll talk to you on the weekend, buddy.
Absolutely.
R Keith, we're going to say goodnight to you because I'm going to shut this thing down and head off to bed. I'm going to start my long weekend right now. Thank you to Greg Thailand, Derek, Lord ×2, Darth ×2, Human Carl ×2, Deb ×2, JSCO, I think that Lord ×3, Thomas T-Bone, Deb ×2, Mark, Mennonite Abe, AA Ron, and W Decker for the great super chats. Don't forget this weekend, you got the Cryptid Huntress back at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern for her Cryptid Huntress show. Then after that, you have After Hours, as Nicole will be joining as a special guest with Marquise once again, both Saturday and Sunday night. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you to everyone out there who hit subscribe and rang that bell this weekend. Don't forget to shop on our website, spacedoutradio.com as well. It all helps us grow each and every night. Thank you, everybody, for the love. You guys have a great weekend. Good night.
Thanks so much, Dave.
See you, Keith.
You have a good one.
Yeah. You have a good one, too, if I could ever find this video to play. Here we go. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.